Chapter 665. Although Sage Xianchen was overjoyed that Lu Ping had obtained the second half of the spirit-forging pills recipe, Sage Xian Su still felt a little regretful. He said, although the Crystal Palace previously announced the various spiritual herbs needed to refine the spirit-forging pill to the various sects in the North Sea, and although we now have the second half of the recipe, I'm afraid it will still be difficult to successfully refine the spirit-forging pill. Sage Xianchen had already recovered from his surprise and said, that is indeed the case. I was too excited just now. However, with the abilities of our sect's 3 alchemy grandmasters, even if they can't completely replicate the spirit-forging pill, they should still be able to improve on some pills that can improve the refining of spiritual objects. Everyone looked at Lu Ping again. Alchemy grandmasters did not care about seniority or status. The one who had the most say was still Lu Ping, the new alchemy grandmaster. However, they saw Lu Ping smile proudly and slowly open his left palm in front of everyone. A purple jade slip that was exactly the same as the one in his right palm appeared in Lu Ping's left palm. Before everyone could exclaim in surprise, Jiang Tianlin Laozu, who was at the side, suddenly waved his hand at Lu Ping. Lu Ping's opened hands involuntarily clenched again and then retracted them. Only when Lu Ping's hands retracted in front of his chest did he slowly regain control of his hands. The moment Jiang Tianlin Laozu made his move, Lu Ping had already understood Jiang Tianlin Laozu's intentions. Thus, he took advantage of the force of Jiang Tianlin's brush and directly put the 2 jade slips into his storage magic tool. Sage Xianchen could not contain the joy in his heart and asked softly, "You already have the first half of the spirit-forging pills recipe?" Lu Ping nodded lightly and said, although I have not carefully studied the contents of the second half of the recipe, it should not be a big problem. Jiang Tianlin Laozu said seriously, if the recipe of the spirit-forging pill is really gathered, even a spirit treasure cannot be exchanged for it. However, this matter is our sect's biggest secret. Everyone, not even the eldest son or younger brother of your own family, cannot reveal a single word. Everything will wait until after this trip to Yingtian Dojo is completed and we return to our sect, then we will discuss it with Sect Laozu before making a decision. Regarding this matter, everyone nodded as a matter of course. It was said that one of the main reasons for the destruction of Fei Ling's sect was because the inheritance of the spirit-forging pill in Fei Ling's sect was too eye-catching. This had forced Jinling to be cautious, afraid that the misfortune of Fei Ling's sect would befall Jinling. After the first round of selection by each Sect Laozu, basically the most valuable treasures had already been taken away. In the second round, Jinling was still the first to pick. Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked at the remaining 20 treasures and turned back. You guys should also take a look and see if there is anything that can be used. Obviously, although the remaining treasures still had some value, they were not worthy of Jiang Tianlin Laozu's attention. In the end, Daoist Xianchen still had his eyes on a copper gong. This copper gong was only a spirit-connected magic treasure that had condensed the 6 Dao treasures. However, Daoist Xianchen found some patterns on the surface of the copper gong that were similar to formation runes. This greatly interested Daoist Xianchen. Thus, Jiang Tianlin Laozu went forward and took the copper gong. Just as Jiang Tianlin Laozu handed the copper gong to Daoist Xianchen, he frowned and looked to the side. He just happened to see Daoist Qian Daofeng of Xian Ling's sect turn his head to the side. Obviously, the experienced Daoist Qian Daofeng had also discovered the strangeness of this copper gong. Unfortunately, Xian Ling's sect was ranked below Jinling, so they could only miss this copper gong. After another round of selection, Jinling was once again the big winner. However, at this time, the central palace had already been opened to the cultivators of the various sections. It was hard to say whether there were even more precious treasures hidden inside. Moreover, whether or not one could obtain the treasures inside the palace, apart from the cultivator's personal strength, there was no doubt that luck had also increased a lot. No matter how strong one was, if one walked in the wrong direction in the palace's grotto heaven, they would still end up with nothing. The central palace was different from the 3 small palaces in the 6 Dao treasures area. The 3 small palaces were only spatial magic treasures, but the central palace was 100% a grotto heaven magic treasure. It was a pity that this grotto heaven magic treasure had already completely fused with the Yingtian dojo. Everyone could no longer subdue and refine it. Otherwise, the various sects would probably fight fiercely for this palace grotto heaven. In the grotto heaven of the palace, Lu Ping was currently hurrying through a barren and dry desert. At this time, it had already been about an hour since he entered the central grotto heaven, but the path Lu Ping was walking on still seemed to be the depths of the endless desert. After dividing up the treasures in the palace, the cultivators of the various sects couldn't wait to enter the palace. After Lu Ping followed Jinling and the others into the palace, he realized that he had already been separated from Jiang Tianlin Laozu and the others. This grotto heaven seemed to suppress Lu Ping's divine will. Even though Lu Ping's divine will was no weaker than that of a Dharma manifestation stage cultivator, at this time, he could only explore a radius of a few hundred feet around him. Lu Ping was at a loss in the grotto heaven for a moment, not knowing which direction he should go. At this moment, a strange expression flashed across Lu Ping's face, and a green light appeared in his eyes as he looked around. After discovering that there was no one spying on him, he gently patted his chest with his right hand, and a small purple gourd came out of Lu Ping's core space. After the seven treasures thunder gourd hovered above Lu Ping's head for a moment, it seemed to have discovered something and stopped moving in a direction. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat, and he walked in the direction that the seven treasures thunder gourd was pointing. Every time Lu Ping's direction made a mistake, the seven treasures thunder gourd floating above Lu Ping's head would tremble, causing Lu Ping to correct his direction. Lu Ping did not know where the thunder gourd was leading him, nor did he know what would attract the thunder gourd in front of him. However, Lu Ping could not decide which direction to go, so he simply followed the seven treasures thunder gourd and gambled. However, Lu Ping followed the seven treasures thunder gourd for more than an hour. At this time, Lu Ping had walked into a barren desert, and the destination in front of him seemed to be far away. At this moment, the seven treasures thunder gourd that was floating in front of Lu Ping suddenly stopped, and then suddenly changed direction, moving towards a small sand dune. Walking in front of this sand dune, Lu Ping's divine sense moved slightly, and he finally found what was hidden in the sand dune. Lu Ping reached out towards the sand dune, and a ball of sand jumped out from the sand dune. Lu Ping took the seven treasures thunder gourd, and with the mouth of the gourd facing the ball of sand, he formed a hand seal and shouted, "Collect." A purple lightning flashed, and the ball of sand floating in the air disappeared. Then, the seven treasures thunder gourd in Lu Ping's hand began to tremble, as if it was digesting something. From time to time, lightning would spew out from the mouth of the gourd. After a while, the thunder gourd gradually calmed down in Lu Ping's hand, and Lu Ping once again took out the seven treasures thunder gourd. The thunder gourd seemed to be drunk, and the lightning jumping at the mouth of the gourd was like a drunken burp. It staggered into the air, and once again pointed out the direction for Lu Ping to go. Originally, the seven treasures thunder gourd swallowed heaven and earth treasures was an important way for it to grow, but after becoming a spiritual treasure, ordinary heaven and earth treasures seemed to no longer be able to attract the seven treasures thunder gourd's interest. Only rare heaven and earth treasures with special powers could provoke the seven treasures thunder gourd's desire to refine them. As such, after the seven treasures thunder gourd became a spiritual treasure, Lu Ping was only able to find 2 or 3 special heaven and earth treasures that suited the seven treasures thunder gourd's appetite. Due to that, the seven treasures thunder gourd's power did not increase by much. These special heaven and earth treasures were often even rarer in the world of cultivation. This slowly solved one of the questions Lu Ping had about the seven treasures thunder gourd. To refine the seven treasures thunder gourd, it needed to refine a total of 49 different heaven and earth treasures. Although 49 heaven and earth treasures did not seem like a lot, with the full support of some large sects, it would not be difficult to gather all of them. However, why was it that in the tens of thousands of years of history, only Peng Laozu's seven treasures thunder gourd had earned the title of the world of cultivation's #1 divine artifact? Clearly, the refinement of the seven treasures thunder gourd was not as simple as Lu Ping had imagined. There might be more restrictions on its future growth. However, Lu Ping did not have the legacy to refine the seven treasures thunder gourd. Thus, he could only let it grow on its own. Thinking back to how the seven treasures Thunder Gourd had found an earth attribute heaven and earth treasures in the sand dune, Lu Ping remembered that Debeo could not be absent from this exploration. Lu Ping thought back to how he had forgotten to release Debeo just now. He didn't know how many treasures he had missed out on in the past hour he spent on the road. Due to the suppression of a cultivator's divine sense, Lu Ping's ability to control the surrounding environment was greatly weakened. However, they were now in the desert. For Debeo, this environment was like a fish in water. One man and one Yao continued to advance in the direction indicated by the seven treasures Thunder Gourd. Along the way, Debeo would occasionally leave the route and explore the surrounding area. Sometimes, he would bring back something. Sometimes, Lu Ping would have to temporarily abandon the route and work with Debeo to explore or collect something from the desert. However, although the things the two of them collected along the way were of some value, they did not find anything of real value. This was very different from what Lu Ping had imagined. The central palace was the most important place in the Yingtian dojo. It was bound to be filled with treasures. Could it be that his luck had really run out? The two of them continued forward for another 2 hours. Just as Lu Ping was beginning to doubt the seven treasures Thunder Gourd's guidance, a bolt of lightning suddenly flashed across the clear sky. With a loud bang, the lightning fell in front of the two of them, flattening the sand dune beneath their feet by one zhang. Lu Ping and Debeo looked at the scene in front of them in shock. The seven treasures Thunder Gourd above their heads once again trembled rapidly. Chapter 666. Lu Ping and Debeo turned around a sand dune that had been struck by the lightning and saw a long and narrow lake in front of them. Lu Ping looked at the lake in front of him and felt that something was strange. Debeo said, "Don't desert areas with water often form oases? Why is there only a lake and sand here?" Lu Ping suddenly realized what was wrong. This lake suddenly appeared in the desert, but there were no plants growing around it. It was still a desert of white sand. There were no ripples on the surface of the lake. The entire lake gave off a feeling that there was not a trace of life. On the contrary, there was a feeling of death. Just as Lu Ping lifted his foot to walk in the direction of the lake, another thunderbolt fell from the sky, falling directly on top of Lu Ping's head. This time, Lu Ping saw it clearly. The thunderbolt that suddenly appeared in the sky came from the center of the calm lake in front of him. Lu Ping directly put the seven treasure thunder calabash on top of his head. When the thunderbolt hit the mouth of the calabash, it seemed to be attracted by something. In an instant, it disappeared into the seven treasure thunder calabash. It didn't affect Lu Ping in the slightest. Lu Ping took 2 more steps forward. 2 more thunderbolts sounded in the sky. 2 green thunderbolts fell on top of Lu Ping's head, but they were easily dissolved by the seven treasure thunder calabash. At this point, Lu Ping finally understood why an oasis couldn't be formed around the lake. A certain treasure in the lake had already claimed the area around the lake as its territory. Once a living being trespassed into the area, the treasure would be able to kill the living being with lightning bolts. Lu Ping took 2 more steps toward the lake. At this time, there were 3 thunderbolts falling from the sky. They hit Lu Ping's head almost at the same time. However, Lu Ping had the 7 treasure thunder calabash in hand, so he didn't care about this level of attack. But after Lu Ping took a few more steps forward, 5 thunderbolts sounded in the sky almost at the same time. When the 5 thunderbolts fell, they intertwined with each other in the air, unexpectedly forming an even larger blue thunderbolt. Lu Ping looked at the thunderbolt falling from the sky and his expression became slightly serious. This time, the power of the thunderbolt had already exceeded the power of an ordinary minor magical ability. A minor magical ability was naturally nothing to the current Lu Ping. However, at this time, Lu Ping was still several feet away from the lake. Now, a minor magical ability had already appeared. If Lu Ping were to go deeper, would the treasure hidden in the lake use an even more tyrannical magical ability to block Lu Ping's invasion? The 7 treasure thunder calabash was worthy of being called a supreme magic treasure for controlling lightning. Lu Ping directly suspended the 7 treasure thunder calabash above his head and walked all the way to the edge of the lake. The thunderbolts in the sky became more and more concentrated. There were constantly intertwining thunderbolts falling on top of Lu Ping's head, but they were easily dissolved by the 7 treasure thunder calabash. However, as Lu Ping continued to go deeper and closer to the lake, the thunderbolts in the sky suddenly disappeared. Lu Ping was unable to adapt. When he looked up, he saw a purple thunderbolt streaking across the sky. It seemed silent, but in fact, it was directly falling on top of Lu Ping's head. This purple thunderbolt, Lu Ping could clearly feel the huge power contained within it. This was a thunderbolt technique that was no less powerful than a great magical ability. What kind of treasure was hidden in the lake? It could actually summon a great magical ability to protect itself out of thin air. Lu Ping slowly rose into the sky, and a huge 9th-grade lotus bloomed under his feet. This time, the 7 treasure thunder calabash didn't try to devour this thunderbolt. Instead, it spat out a purple thunderbolt, and the 2 thunderbolts collided in opposite directions. There was no earth-shattering explosion like he had imagined. After the 2 thunderbolts met in midair, they began to annihilate each other. However, what surprised Lu Ping was that the purple thunderbolt emitted from the lake actually surpassed the 7 treasure thunder calabash's great magical ability, the 7 treasure thunder calabash. After the 7 treasure thunder calabash's purple thunderbolt was completely annihilated, the remaining purple thunderbolt bypassed the 7 treasure thunder calabash and struck towards Lu Ping's body. The 9th-grade white jade lotus under Lu Ping's feet bloomed layer by layer. This weakened purple thunderbolt was only able to penetrate 2 layers of lotus aura chi before it was completely consumed by the 3rd layer. After emitting this purple thunderbolt, the thing hidden in the lake seemed to have consumed a lot of its energy. Lu Ping walked directly to the edge of the lake, but there was no more thunderbolt falling from the sky. Lu Ping's eyes glowed with a blue light, trying to see through the body of the thing hidden in the lake. However, just as Lu Ping used the 3 pure true pupils, a dazzling brilliance suddenly burst out from the bottom of the lake. Lu Ping's eyes hurt, and with a muffled groan, he tightly closed his eyes. However, tears were already flowing down his cheeks. After a moment, Lu Ping slowly opened his eyes, and secretly thought that it was a close call. Just now, he was careless, and his magical ability was almost broken by the thing at the bottom of the lake. However, what exactly was the thing at the bottom of the lake? This aroused Lu Ping's curiosity even more. Lu Ping slowly squatted down and stretched out his finger to explore the lake. A numb and even tingling feeling spread from Lu Ping's fingertips to his forearm. Lu Ping's eyes showed surprise. The power of thunder and lightning carried by this lake was obviously because of the treasure hidden in the depths of the lake, and after being diluted by this lake, with Lu Ping's current physical strength, he could still feel such a clear tingling pain. This more and more proved that the thing hidden in the lake was not simple. What exactly is in the lake? Lu Ping reached out and pointed at the lake, and a clear stream of water rolled up from the lake. Lu Ping's hand gesture changed, and the North Sea 12 Techniques water control technique was launched. This stream of water meandered on the lake, and gradually formed an undercurrent in the lake that was enough to stir up the entire lake. Under the seemingly calm lake, the surging undercurrent allowed Lu Ping and Lu Ping's sense of touch to explore every corner of the lake. However, when Lu Ping controlled the water to gradually explore the thunder ball that emitted countless electric lights in the depths of the lake, the divine sense contained in the water suddenly discovered that the power of thunder and lightning in the water had suddenly increased several times. The true essence contained in the undercurrent that Lu Ping had used the water control technique was being rapidly melted by the power of thunder and lightning. This phenomenon greatly surprised Lu Ping. It must be known that after Lu Ping's true essence had been refined by the profound heavy water and the thousand wonder dew, the quality of his true essence was thick and condensed. Among the cultivators of the same level, there was no second, but now it was easily melted by the power of thunder and lightning that had completely dissolved in the lake water. How could this make Lu Ping relax? Let's see if your power of thunder and lightning will first exhaust my true essence, or if my water control technique will first absorb all the water in this lake. For a time, Lu Ping's competitive spirit was aroused. The profound heavy water had given Lu Ping a thick and condensed true essence, and the 1,000 Wonder Dew had made up for Lu Ping's shortcoming of slow true essence recovery. Now, it could be said that Lu Ping did not fear true essence consumption in any situation. Lu Ping used the water control technique and condensed 12 undercurrents at the bottom of the lake, controlling almost all the water in the lake. To do this, Lu Ping consumed nearly 1/3 of his true essence. This was the first time since Lu Ping had refined 2 portions of the 1,000 Wonder Dew and advanced to the late core forging stage. At this moment, Lu Ping's hand seals suddenly changed. The most profound of the North Sea's 12 techniques, the art of changing seas and mulberry fields, replaced the water control technique. The entire lake suddenly shook. The art of changing seas and mulberry fields was a magical ability that Lu Ping had yet to fully grasp. It was only after Lu Ping advanced to the late core forging stage that he was able to study this magical ability. As soon as he used it, the entire lake first trembled, and then the entire lake suddenly boiled. 12 undercurrents soared up from the surface of the lake, suddenly draining 2/3 of the lake's total water. However, Lu Ping's art of changing seas and mulberry fields didn't stop there. After the 12 undercurrents were drawn away from the lake's area continued to shrink, and the lake's surface continued to drop. Hidden at the bottom of the lake was a ball of white lightning entwined with electric light, faintly revealing a trace of its movements. After Lu Ping's art of changing seas and mulberry fields was shaken by the white light of the ball of lightning, he didn't look at the bottom of the lake again. At this time, the entire lake was about to be drained by him. At an unknown time, a white jade lotus had already floated in the middle of the lake, directly above the area where the ball of lightning was located. Although Lu Ping's art of changing seas and mulberry fields hadn't been cultivated to the large success stage, it wasn't difficult to use it to drain the entire lake's water. Although this was already an extremely great ability for cultivators of the same level. At this time, the ball of lightning in the middle of the lake seemed to have sensed the approaching crisis. Suddenly, a purple light appeared in the ball of lightning, and then a purple lightning shot out from the ball of lightning again, about to strike Lu Ping, who was performing the art of changing seas and mulberry fields at the most critical moment. However, before this lightning could fall, the white jade lotus floating above the ball of lightning suddenly bloomed. 12 gentian beads emitting colorful light fell in different directions. Lu Ping's natal gentian formation was instantly set up. After spitting out purple lightning again, the ball of lightning was in a weakened state in one fell swoop. Lu Ping stepped into the gentian formation. Without looking at the purple lightning that was falling towards his head, he said in a deep voice, "Ding Hai." With the 9th rank white jade lotus as the center and the 12 gentian beads as the fulcrum, the entire gentian formation suddenly shook. The purple lightning that fell in mid-air was instantly shaken, and at the same time, the huge ball of lightning at the bottom of the lake was also suppressed. Chapter 667. Lu Ping activated his life source gentian formation. At this time, whether it was the lake water that was rolling up in the air or the thunder ball that was wrapped in a ball of lightning at the bottom of the lake, as Lu Ping spoke these 2 words, the entire space seemed to come to a standstill. The lake water maintained a state of reverse flow, and the thunder ball that was emitting from the lake water that could melt the Jin Yuan within Lu Ping's body was also suddenly isolated. Lu Ping could sense that the suppressed thunder ball had an extremely strong thunder power that was expanding outwards, wanting to break free from the shackles of the 12 gentian formation. However, Lu Ping's life source gentian formation had been refined by him for dozens of years, and he had never used this ability even in extremely dangerous times. How could this kind of formation be so easily broken? With Lu Ping's current strength, he could completely destroy this thunder ball, but Lu Ping knew that there must be another treasure wrapped in this thunder ball. Previously, when Lu Ping used the 3 pure true pupils, his vision was blocked by the thunder ball's electric light, but Lu Ping was still able to sense something inside the thunder ball. Previously, the thunder ball had used the lake water to melt Lu Ping's Jin Yuan, but now the situation had reversed, and it was Lu Ping who was constantly using his life source formation to constantly consume the thunder power in the thunder ball. This was also why Lu Ping, with his vigorous and thick Jin Yuan, as well as his tyrannical Jin Yuan regeneration ability, was still able to compete with this thunder ball for a long time, even though he was using his life source gentian formation. Under the suppression of the life source formation, the thunderball struggled left and right, but it was unable to break through the obstruction of the life source formation. On the contrary, in the process of the thunderball's impact, the thunder power was constantly consumed, and the thunderball's volume was also becoming smaller and smaller. From the previous 3 feet in diameter, it was gradually reduced to only 1 foot in size, and the electric light on the thunderball's surface was also becoming thinner and thinner. Lu Ping looked at the right opportunity, his hands continuously changed signs, and a 5-colored light swept across the surface of the thunderball, each time taking away a piece of electric light. Gradually, the thunderball shrank again, and the electric light also disappeared. In front of Lu Ping, there was only a sweet spring-like water ball. Lu Ping looked surprised, and his divine sense slowly approached the water ball, but suddenly there was a burst of electric light in the water ball. Suddenly, Lu Ping felt a numbing pain in his divine sense, and his head also felt dizzy. Immediately after, the life source gentian formation also showed a trace of relaxation, but it was only for a moment before Lu Ping recovered. However, just as Lu Ping let his guard down, a tiny purple electric bolt burst out from the water ball again. The electric bolt broke 3 layers of the life elemental array's protective shield. When Lu Ping regained his senses, the water ball almost escaped from his grasp. This was also because of Lu Ping's divine sense, which was far superior to that of other adepts of the same level, that he was able to recover so quickly under the sudden attack of the thunderball. If it had been anyone else, that attack would have been enough to make them dizzy for half a day, and by then, the water ball would have broken through the formation and escaped without a trace. Not only did this water ball contain the power of thunder and lightning, but it could also form a ball of electric light to protect itself. At the same time, it could also automatically release a purple electric light that was no less powerful than the power of a great power, and the power of the thunder could even attack divine sense. All these magical effects proved in Lu Ping's heart that the existence of a unique spiritual item was the thunder punishment liquid. When Dharma adepts faced their tribulations, the thunder in the sky would condense to its limit and form a few drops of thunder punishment liquid, hidden in the dark clouds of the tribulation. However, although the thunder punishment liquid would form when the tribulation lightning descended, when the adepts went through their own tribulations, they were often faced with a life and death crisis. How would they have the spare time to search for the thunder punishment liquid in the dark clouds of the tribulation lightning? Furthermore, every time a practitioner went through a tribulation, the amount of thunder punishment liquid that could be condensed was usually a few pitiful drops. Even if they were found, without a certain amount of accumulation, these few drops of thunder punishment liquid would not be of much use. As such, only those who were exceptionally talented and had enough accumulation, and believed that they would have no problem passing the tribulation lightning, would have the leisure to search for the thunder punishment liquid in the dark clouds of the tribulation lightning. All these reasons led to the scarcity of the thunder punishment liquid. Only those sects with a long history of inheritance, with generations of highly skilled Dharma adepts, could accumulate enough thunder punishment liquid over a long period of time, when a Dharma adept was in a life and death situation during a Dharma adept's tribulations. Thunder punishment liquid, a high-grade heaven-level water attribute peerless spirit item. It was unknown how many generations of Laozu of the Ying Tian faction had risked their lives to collect it from the dark clouds of the tribulation lightning. There were a total of 36 drops, an entire set of spirit items. Faced with a high-grade heaven-level spirit item, Lu Ping's heart suddenly did not have the ecstasy he felt when he saw such a rare treasure. All that was left was a silent silence. This precious treasure, which was formed from the blood, sweat, and tears of generations of Ying Tian faction's Dharma adepts, had been taken away by Lu Ping, a nobody who had nothing to do with the Ying Tian faction. Lu Ping's heart was suddenly filled with a deep sense of sorrow. This sorrow was a memorial to the end of an era, but it also seemed to be a sense of helplessness towards the unpredictable future. The dead were gone. Although the name of the Ying Tian faction had been lost in the passage of time, the legacy of the Ying Tian faction had not been broken. At least, Zhenling would carry this legacy forward. This could also be considered a form of consolation to the previous generations of the Ying Tian faction. Lu Ping sighed silently. Only now did he realize that although he had completely suppressed this ball of thunder punishment liquid, What could he use to collect it? At this moment, the thunder punishment liquid looked like a ball of flowing water, but in reality, it was unusually violent. Normal treasures could be stored for a short period of time, but once it was stored for a long period of time, these treasures would definitely be damaged. No matter how much Lu Ping thought about it, he could not think of any treasures on him that would not be affected by the power of the lightning contained within the thunder punishment liquid. At this moment, the 7 thunder treasures calabash that had been floating above Lu Ping's head suddenly began to spin rapidly. The mouth of the calabash had already opened, and it let out a woo-woo sound. Lu Ping looked at the 7 thunder treasures calabash above his head, and then looked at the thunder punishment liquid that was still slowly flowing in all directions under the suppression of the life gentian formation. Lu Ping extended his hand and called the 7 thunder treasures calabash into his hand. The mouth of the calabash sucked in the thunder punishment liquid, and the ball of water suddenly shook. Then, from the ball of water, there was a dense burst of lightning, as if it was resisting the 7 thunder treasures calabash's absorption of the thunder punishment liquid. At this time, Lu Ping did not care about whether or not the thunder punishment liquid could be spat out after it was swallowed by the 7 thunder treasures calabash. He had spent too much time searching for and subduing the thunder punishment liquid. During this time, he didn't know how many treasures had already been found by others in this central palace. Lu Ping once again poured his true essence into the thunder calabash, and the suction of the 7 thunder treasures calabash increased. The thunder punishment liquid was no longer able to resist the absorption of the 7 thunder treasures calabash. Finally, the thunder punishment liquid was slowly absorbed by the 7 thunder treasures calabash, and finally condensed into water droplets. Lu Ping shook the thunder calabash in his hand, and the sound of flowing water echoed out from within. Lu Ping secretly let out a sigh of relief. The thunder punishment liquid was not like the other heaven and earth treasures. After it was swallowed by the thunder calabash, it would be decomposed and consumed to enhance the thunder calabash's power. This was a high-grade heaven-step peerless spiritual treasure, and also a water attribute one at that. Lu Ping naturally had a great idea in his heart. If the thunder calabash and the other heaven and earth treasures were smelted to enhance his own power, then Lu Ping would die of regret. At this time, the thunder calabash and the thunder punishment liquid seemed to have formed a kind of symbiotic tacit understanding. With the assistance of the thunder punishment liquid, the thunder calabash's power would undoubtedly increase, and the thunder punishment liquid could also use the power of thunder and lightning within the thunder punishment liquid to supplement its own consumption. Subduing the thunder punishment liquid had consumed far too much of Lu Ping's true essence and energy. Because he didn't want to damage the thunder punishment liquid, Lu Ping had no choice but to use the stupidest method possible. He used the water control art to drain the entire lake of water, and then sacrificed his own life source magic weapon to compete with the thunder and lightning on the surface of the thunder punishment liquid. In this way, the thunder punishment liquid's power was almost completely consumed, and he finally obtained a complete portion of the thunder punishment liquid. After losing the control of Lu Ping's water control art, the lake water that had been swept back into the lake, splashing up a muddy mess. Waves of water vapor spread in all directions, giving the desert a different kind of vitality. Lu Ping didn't stay any longer, and quickly left the desert. This Heaven's Grotto Heaven was the most important inheritance space of the Surplus Heavens faction, and who knew how many secrets were hidden inside. For the sake of this high-grade heaven-step peerless spiritual treasure, Lu Ping had clearly wasted too much time. In another unknown place in this Heaven's Grotto Heaven, Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zu had used some unknown method to unexpectedly meet up with spiritual master Xian Chen. Just as Lu Ping subdued the lightning tribulation water, spiritual master Xian Chen, who was calculating something in his hand, suddenly raised his head and said, "Senior brother Jiang, another treasure that was used to guard the palace has been removed." Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zu were currently playing with a purple bamboo pole in their hands, and the surface of the pole occasionally flashed with purple lightning. Hearing this, they said, "What, you still can't find the whereabouts of that item?" Spiritual Master Xian Chen shook his head and said, "There are a total of 4 palace spirits, 1 main and 3 auxiliary. This purple lightning bamboo has already been obtained by senior brother, and the other auxiliary spirit has already been removed, so only the last auxiliary spirit is left. Only after this treasure has been removed will the traces of the main spirit be revealed. Jiang Tianlin and Laozu put away the purple lightning bamboo in their hands and said, "In this heaven's grotto heaven, a high-grade spiritual treasure can only be used as an auxiliary spirit, so I really don't know what the main spirit is. Could it really be the legendary pure yang soul?" At this moment, Jiang Tianlin and Laozu seemed to have suddenly thought of something and asked, "Since junior sister can see that the palace spirit in this heaven's grotto heaven is not ordinary, then can the other two also discover something wrong?" Chapter 668. Not in the past, but now, the two of them became famous before me. Their knowledge and insight are not inferior to mine. So, when senior brother plucked out this purple thunder bamboo and obtained the first palace guardian spirit, the other two must have already sensed that something was wrong in the heavenly abode and began to calculate the location of the palace guardian spirit. Spiritual Master Xian Chen thought about it and said with some uncertainty. Jiang Tianlin Laozu nodded and said, "Maybe the second palace spirit was one of them. So, there is still a third palace spirit that has not been pulled out. Junior Marshal Sister, have you determined its location?" Spiritual Master Xian Chen gestured on the formation plate in his hand for a long time before saying, "It is roughly in the southeast, but the distance is too far. I'm afraid that before we arrive, the cultivators of the other sects will have already discovered the existence of the palace spirit." Patriarch Jiang Tianlin smiled and said, "It's fine. We can also explore the other legacies of the Surplus Heavens faction along the way. In just a little more than 2 hours, I have already collected 2 complete legacies of cultivation techniques from this grotto heaven. There are also dozens of secret cultivation manuals of magic techniques and magic techniques. Among them, there are 3 sets of great magic techniques. As for the other treasures, there is no need to mention them. I believe that the cultivators of the other sects might not have gained less than us." After subduing the lightning tribulation water, Lu Ping quickly walked out of the desert. He could vaguely feel that there seemed to be some changes in the surroundings, but when he carefully looked around, he found nothing. In the end, he had no choice but to continue moving forward. Although he could not fly, Lu Ping's speed was still not comparable to that of a mortal. In just 10 minutes, Lu Ping had already walked out of the desert. At this moment, Lu Ping suddenly felt that the surroundings had changed again. When he looked around, he found nothing. Lu Ping suddenly became suspicious. The feeling in the cave was very similar to the feeling he had when he collected the lightning tribulation water. Could it be that there was some unknown change in the cave? Before Lu Ping could think more, after absorbing the lightning tribulation water, the 7 treasure lightning calabash, which was quiet for a moment as if it had eaten and drunk enough, suddenly convulsed on top of Lu Ping's head. Lu Ping originally thought that it was because the lightning tribulation water was in the lightning calabash. However, when Lu Ping sent his divine sense into the lightning calabash, he found that it was not the calm lightning tribulation water that caused the lightning calabash to convulse, but a dense purple gas. Lu Ping's heart moved. He remembered that when he was observing Laozu's tribulation, the purple pure yang gas that almost burned Lu Ping to ashes. The pure yang gas on that day had been refined into a cloud of dense gas under the joint encirclement of Lu Ping's thick true essence and the Genshin's life source formation, including the 7 treasure lightning calabash and the Genshin's life source formation. After that, the 14 magic weapons each swallowed the dense gas and returned it to Lu Ping's true essence. Not only did it make Lu Ping's cultivation greatly improved, but the true essence in his body also had a trace of purple from the previous blue. As Lu Ping's cultivation gradually deepened, this trace of purple also became more and more vigorous. Could it be that the 7 treasure lightning calabash was making such a big movement because of the purple pure yang gas it had absorbed that day? Lu Ping held a gentian bead in his hand and suddenly felt an eager throbbing from the gentian bead. However, the gentian bead did not have the same spiritual nature as the 7 treasure lightning calabash, but this was enough for Lu Ping to perceive that the attraction between the gentian bead and the 7 treasure lightning calabash must have something to do with the purple pure yang gas. Thinking of the purple pure yang gas that day, Lu Ping still had a lingering fear in his heart. It was just a small source of qi that was inadvertently released during celestial phenomenon Laozu's tribulation, but it almost took Lu Ping's life. What he did not know was that the pure yang gas that gathered around celestial phenomenon Laozu during the tribulation was something that even celestial phenomenon Laozu did not want to provoke. Instead, he let the pure yang gas wrap around his body. When celestial phenomenon Laozu's giant ape emerged from the celestial river of lightning, the pure yang gas that wrapped around his body had already been purified by the tribulation lightning and turned into source qi that could be absorbed by cultivators. On the other side of the cave, Jiang Tianlin Laozu, with the help of perfected Xianchen, had just swept away a batch of high-quality spiritual materials that the Yingtian sect had left behind from a stone cave. Many of them were second-grade mutated spiritual materials that could be used to forge treasures, and they even found 3 top-grade spiritual materials. Among them, there were also many rare spiritual materials that could be used to forge alchemy furnaces and crafting furnaces. Just as the two of them were about to move on to the next place, a strange change occurred in the cave for the 3rd time, causing Jiang Tianlin Laozu to stop in his tracks. Perfected Xianchen said in surprise, "So fast, the 3rd secondary spirit has also been removed by someone. I wonder if it was Qian Daofeng or the one from the Shuiyan Pavilion." Jiang Tianlin Laozu's expression was solemn as he said, "It doesn't matter which of the 2 sects obtained the secondary spirit. What's important is that it is extremely difficult for a formation master without the help of a Dharma manifestation stage cultivator to obtain a high-grade heaven-level spiritual item. Although it is not impossible, it is extremely difficult. That means that they also have talismans similar to teleportation talismans in their hands. That is why they were able to avoid the influence of the cave space and teleport the 2 of them to another area in the cave." Perfected Xianchen thought about the process of the 2 of them subduing the purple thunder bamboo. This purple thunder bamboo could actually unleash a great thunder technique. If Jiang Tianlin Laozu had not been by their side, Perfected Xianchen, who was a late core forging stage cultivator, would have been unable to withstand the sudden attack. If that's the case, then the location of the main spirit should have been revealed by now. The array disc in Perfected Xianchen's hand was already floating in midair. Perfected Xianchen, who had been calculating with one hand on the array disc, was now completely focused on the array disc. Both of his hands moved at the same time, waving rapidly on the array disc. Even beads of sweat appeared on Perfected Xianchen's forehead. How could he care about Jiang Tianlin Laozu's question? After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, Perfected Xianchen flicked the fine beads of sweat on his forehead and said, "I've finally found its tracks. However, Senior Jiang, we need to hurry over. The 3rd Bureau's secondary spirit is unusually fast. Perhaps Qian Daofeng and the others have already noticed the palace guardian spirit. If we are late, I'm afraid someone will beat us to it." Jiang Tianlin Laozu's expression was serious. He stuck 2 talismans on his legs. They were ordinary divine movement talismans. However, in this space where flying was forbidden, these 2 divine movement talismans were extremely suitable. Jiang Tianlin Laozu and Perfected Xianchen flew in the direction that Perfected Xianchen had pointed, kicking up a cloud of dust on the ground. In the desert, in front of the lake that Lu Ping had previously encountered, Qian Daofeng and Feng Shutao looked at the still turbulent lake water with ashen faces. When the 2 of them had just arrived near the lake, Qian Daofeng had already sensed that the 3rd secondary spirit had been removed by someone. When Jiang Tianlin Laozu had removed the 1st palace guardian spirit with Perfected Xianchen's help, Qian Daofeng had already noticed that something was wrong. During the calculation process, the 2nd palace guardian spirit had also been removed by Lu Ping under the guidance of the thunder calabash. By now, Qian Daofeng had already calculated the locations of the 3 secondary spirits. However, unlike Perfected Xianchen, Qian Daofeng did not have the Yingtian sect's formation inheritance book that Lu Ping had given her as a reference. After calculating the locations of the 3 secondary spirits, Qian Daofeng was unable to calculate the location of the unremoved secondary spirit. Left with no other choice, Feng Shutao and Qian Daofeng hurried toward the secondary spirit land closest to them. However, their luck wasn't so good. Lu Ping had already gotten there before them, and at the same time, the third secondary spirit land was also removed. Xianling sect only had one array formation grandmaster, and 3 auxiliary spiritual lands, but none of them. Just as Feng Shutao was about to leave dejectedly, Qian Daofeng suddenly exclaimed in surprise. A Dharma treasure that looked like a formation plate appeared in front of her. Feng Shutao fiddled with it for a while, then shook his head. No, there's a big mystery here. Feng Shutao looked at the Dharma treasure in front of Qian Daofeng and saw that it was densely packed with runic patterns. Feng Shutao was confused and could only look at Qian Daofeng with a questioning gaze. However, he realized that Qian Daofeng seemed to have gone mad. Qian Daofeng only focused on the Dharma treasure and ignored Feng Shutao. After a while, Qian Daofeng came to a sudden realization and said, I see. The 3 places where the palace guardian spirits were located were only 3 places to hide the real palace guardian spirit. I was almost tricked by the surplus heavens sect. Feng Shutao perked up and said, secondary spirit lands. Does that mean that the main spirit hasn't been found yet? Previously, in the space where the 3 small palaces were located, the spirits of the palaces were all Dharma power souls formed by the condensation of a mid-Dharma adept. Who knew what kind of treasure the spirits of the palaces would be in the final inheritance cave of the Yingtian dojo? Could it be a Dharma soul formed by a late Dharma adept? Why can't it be a pure Yang soul? Qian Daofeng, who was calculating the location of the palace guardian spirit, said casually. Then, he once again focused on the ever-changing runic patterns on the Dharma treasure. Feng Shutao, on the other hand, was stunned speechless after hearing Qian Daofeng's unintentional words. In a stone valley in the cave, a group of 3 practitioners from the Shuiyan Pavilion gathered together. 2 of them, including Dharma Laozu from the Shuiyan Pavilion, were focused on a female practitioner who was sitting cross-legged in the middle. This person was the only formation master of the Shuiyan Pavilion. After a long time, this person let out a long sigh of relief and said to the Dharma adept from the Shuiyan Pavilion, Senior sister, it seems that there is still a real palace guardian spirit in this cave. Now, I have roughly found its whereabouts. If someone was able to look down from an extremely high place in this cave, they would see that the practitioners from the Jinling sect, Xianling sect, and Shuiyan Pavilion were all moving towards the same destination from different directions. These 3 sects might have already anticipated that there would be other sects moving towards their destination as well. However, the practitioners from these 3 sects would never have imagined that before they had even calculated the location of the real palace guardian spirit, there was already someone in front of them heading towards the location of the palace guardian spirit. Chapter 669. Lu Ping did not know that there were 3 groups of people rushing in the same direction as him. The 7 treasures Thunder Gourd was too eye-catching, so Lu Ping took out a gentian pearl and followed the faint guiding force of the gentian pearl as he sped towards the unknown location. Along the way, Lu Ping also found a few places that seemed to have hidden treasures. Unfortunately, every time Lu Ping stopped, the trace of pure yang qi in the gentian pearl would go crazy and rush around the interior of the gentian pearl. From afar, a pearl that was glowing in 5 different colors would jump up and down for no reason, as if it was haunted. With no other choice, Lu Ping could only remember the location and let De Bao out again, allowing him to move on his own. Meanwhile, Lu Ping continued to move forward. Because Jinren Xianchen had received some of the formation inheritance from the Yingtian sect from Lu Ping, she had advanced to become a formation master in the shortest amount of time. After the appearance of the 3 secondary spirit lands, she was the first person to calculate the location of the true spirit of the palace. Therefore, in terms of speed, the 2 people Jinling were slightly faster than Xianling sect and Shuiyan Pavilion. Jinren Xianchen worriedly asked Patriarch Jiang Tianlin, who was sprinting, Senior brother, legend has it that the pure Yang soul is a Dharma soul that can only be condensed by a Dharma adept at the peak of the Dharma stage. It contains a Dharma soul of a Dharma adept at the peak of the Dharma stage, and it also contains the experiences of a Dharma adept at the peak of the Dharma stage. It even includes the experiences of a great adept at the peak of the Dharma stage, big and small. Everything that he has seen and heard is a detailed history of the growth of a great adept at the peak of the Dharma stage. However, it is extremely difficult to obtain the inheritance of the pure yang soul. The adept must go through a tribulation and nurture pure yang qi in the Dharma stage. Only then can the adept completely inherit the pure yang soul. Senior brother, you have already inherited the Dharma soul of a mid-Dharma adept. However, senior brother, you are only an early Dharma adept after all. Jiang Tianlin Laozu thought for a moment and said, I have not thought about this either. However, even if I cannot inherit it, I have to see if I can subdue it and bring it back to our sect's mid-Dharma adept who has gone through the tribulation to inherit it. Especially Uncle Master Tian Kong, he only has less than 200 years of life left. If he inherits it and is able to break through the tribulation to reach the mid-Dharma stage and become our sect's second-grade adept, then he will have another 300 years of life left. Jinren Xianchen was still worried and said, if what you say is true, that would be for the best. However, I am just afraid that the Yingtian sect has set up a trap for the spirit of the palace. If the spirit of the palace can only be subdued and not taken away, then what should we do? Jiang Tianlin Laozu laughed coldly and said, if that is the case, then there is no other way but to destroy it. Destroy it? Jinren Xianchen was stunned for a moment and then said in shock, that is the crystallization of a peak Dharma adept's lifetime of training. Destroying it just like that would be such a waste. Jiang Tianlin Laozu said firmly, so what? We cannot let it fall into the hands of other adepts. Don't forget, this is not the North Sea, but the border between the North Ice Fields and Central Plains. In the North Sea, mid-Dharma adepts who can be regarded as masters of the sect may exist in some of the smaller sects in Central Plains. Any one of them can find this place after we leave and immediately inherit the pure yang soul. Jinren Xianchen sighed and did not say anything else. He knew that what Jiang Tianlin Laozu had said was correct. At this time, Jiang Tianlin Laozu suddenly laughed and said, Junior sister, actually, the real spirit of the palace may not be the pure yang soul. If it is the Dharma essence of a late Dharma adept, then we have a chance to subdue it. Jinren Xianchen said softly, let's hope so. However, Jinren Xianchen knew in his heart that the three secondary spirits of the palace were already high-grade heaven-level spiritual objects. As such, as the true treasure of the palace's guardian spirit, its spirituality would definitely surpass that of the other three secondary spirits. As such, it was most likely that the true guardian spirit of the palace was a pure yang soul at the peak of the Dharma stage. Lu Ping looked at the low but undulating hills in front of him, which gave Lu Ping a lot of visual impact. However, the rapidly vibrating five-colored light in front of Lu Ping clearly told Lu Ping that the thing he was looking for was in the middle of these hills. Now that they were getting closer, Lu Ping could clearly feel the attraction of the gentian pearl in front of him getting stronger and stronger. It even felt like it was leaving Lu Ping's control and was searching for it alone. It was a pity that he had already let De Bao out. Otherwise, if De Bao was here, he would be needed now. Lu Ping followed the inexplicable suction force coming from the origin Qin bead and stepped into the hill. Suddenly, he felt the true essence in his body was also being pulled by an inexplicable force. Although this force was so weak that it was negligible, Lu Ping could clearly feel this inexplicable suction force. Just like the gentian pearl and the seven treasures thunder calabash, the reason Lu Ping's inner yuan also felt the attraction was probably because of the pure yang qi that had been filtered into the core space of the golden elixir through the seven treasures thunder calabash and the natal gentian formation. With the guidance of his own inner yuan, Lu Ping took back the gentian pearl and found a door completely made of stone in front of a relatively tall hill in the middle of this hill. Lu Ping looked at the yellow light curtain of prohibition at the door and could not help but frown. Fortunately, there was no one else here. The forbidden technique that Lu Ping had obtained from Failing Mountain could be used here without worry. In addition, when such an obvious door was set up, it was obvious that there was no intention to prohibit others from entering. Therefore, Lu Ping easily broke the weakened prohibition and entered the door. Behind the door was a long corridor. After walking through the long corridor, Lu Ping found that the entire belly of the hill had been hollowed out. An abyss in the ground seemed to be directly connected to the broken space outside the field. Once Lu Ping fell in, unless he had the cultivation of the Dharma stage and could tear the space apart, there was a chance that he could survive. A stone bridge that was 1 foot wide and 180 feet long crossed the abyss and connected to the other end of the corridor. On the other end of the stone wall, a small stone hall had been hollowed out. In the middle of the stone hall, there was a flight of steps. At the end of the steps was a seat carved out of stone. On the seat, there was a ball of light that flickered, causing Lu Ping to be unable to see what was hidden in the light from the other side of the abyss. However, just as Lu Ping looked at the ball of light, the circulation speed of the inner yuan in his body suddenly doubled. In the core space, the natal gentian array and the Thunder 7 Treasures calabash seemed to have sensed it and began to tremble in the core space. The Thunder 7 Treasures calabash, in particular, even felt as though it was about to jump out of the core space. This made Lu Ping very angry. He secretly decided that after the matter at Yingtian Dojo was over, he would definitely refine the Thunder 7 Treasures calabash and have it firmly in his hands. Green light flashed in Lu Ping's eyes. He then shook his head with an expression of wanting to cry and laugh. There were countless forbidden space arrays in the stone bridge that was 1 foot wide. These arrays were intertwined and intertwined. If one tried to break them, there was a high chance that this huge mountain would completely collapse. From the looks of it, he could only cross this stone bridge. However, he did not know what kind of test the cultivators from Yingtian faction had left behind on this stone bridge. At that moment, Lu Ping had no choice but to leave. He had already spent too much time on his journey. If he were to turn back now, it would not be worth it. Not to mention, the treasure was right before his eyes. If he did not go and check it out, Lu Ping would not be satisfied. The moment Lu Ping stepped onto the stone bridge, he felt his entire body tremble. From top to bottom, from the outside to the inside, a pressure seemed to be coming from countless directions. However, Lu Ping did not mind it. Although the pressure was there, it clearly could not affect Lu Ping in the slightest. At that very moment, however, Lu Ping gained a slight understanding of the stone bridge's test. It would appear that this test was not just a test of the cultivator's cultivation base. It was also a test of the cultivator's fleshly body. Lu Ping took 5 steps forward in a row. When he took the 6th step, the pressure on his body doubled once more. Similarly, the pressure was also coming from various directions. Rather, Lu Ping could feel his internal organs swelling outwards. Lu Ping did not utilize any primary energy. Instead, he relied solely on his fleshly body's strength to take 20 steps forward in one breath's time. After taking the 21st step, Lu Ping's fleshly body could no longer endure the pressure coming from all directions. Primary energy flowed through his meridians and the pressure on Lu Ping's body was instantly dispelled. By then, the pressure had increased by 16 times compared to the previous one. As Lu Ping continued to strengthen his primary energy to resist the pressure, Lu Ping took another 20 steps forward. By then, he was standing in the center of the stone bridge. The bridge was 1 chi wide and there were no guardrails on either side. Suddenly, Lu Ping felt as though he would fall at any moment. Lu Ping steadied himself and his primary energy suddenly overflowed. Lu Ping's entire body turned bluish-purple in color. After that, Lu Ping took the 41st step. After taking just 5 steps, Lu Ping's body was suddenly enveloped by 7 layers of protective astral energy. When he took the 51st step, the water-controlling flag was already hovering above Lu Ping's head. After taking another 5 steps, Lu Ping could only helplessly put on the cloud-light 5 elements robe. The pressure on Lu Ping's body was greatly reduced. After taking another 10 steps, he finally stopped after taking the 66th step. At this time, Lu Ping's entire body was already soaked in sweat. However, the end of the stone bridge was already in sight. Lu Ping took 2 deep breaths, and a white jade lotus flashed under his feet. The white jade lotus bloomed layer by layer, resonating with the 7 layers of protective astral energy around Lu Ping's body. By relying on Lu Ping's life source magic weapon, Lu Ping finally took the 66th step. After taking the 70th step, looking at the remaining 10 steps, Lu Ping suddenly discovered a weakness that he had been neglecting in his cultivation. That was, Lu Ping's primary energy was vigorous and pure enough, but it could not reach the explosive level. Chapter 670. Among the spells that Lu Ping had practiced, there were spells that could suddenly increase the power of the attack. Lu Ping's inner yuan output was also strong enough, but compared to Lu Ping's inner yuan, which was thick, pure, and endless, the flaw of his inner yuan not being explosive enough was exposed. Under normal circumstances, this flaw would not be obvious, because no matter if it was a practitioner of the same level or a practitioner below the Dharma stage, almost no one could force Lu Ping to use spells that would greatly damage his inner yuan, or even cause damage to both sides. However, on this stone bridge, facing these last 10 steps, this flaw of Lu Ping's was magnified infinitely. Lu Ping fully activated the natal gentian formation, and with great difficulty, once again transferred part of the pressure on his body to the formation. Then, Lu Ping was finally able to take a step forward. After 5 consecutive steps, Lu Ping's legs were trembling, and his body had reached its limit. There were only 5 more steps left, and in Lu Ping's eyes, it seemed to be an insurmountable chasm. At this time, Lu Ping could see the ball of light on the stone seat at the end of the stone bridge very clearly. This ball of light was very similar to the Dharma Power Soul that Zhang Shi had previously captured, except that the Dharma Power Soul in front of Lu Ping looked even more crystal clear, and its entire body seemed to be emitting a warm aura, so that Lu Ping could vaguely feel it even while he was still on the stone bridge. Zhang Shi, Feng Shutao, and Jiang Tianlin Laozu had all obtained Dharma Power Souls from mid-Dharma adepts. Could it be that this Dharma Power Soul was of a higher quality than the ones that Jiang Tianlin Laozu and the others had obtained? Did that not mean that this Dharma Power Soul could possibly be the Dharma Power Soul of a late Dharma adept? No, he had to get his hands on this item. The temptation of the Dharma Power Soul of a late Dharma adept filled Lu Ping with energy. With a loud shout, Lu Ping struggled to take the 76th step, amidst the creaking sounds of his bones. With this step, Lu Ping's entire body seemed to be compressed into a ball, and all the bones in his body felt like they were about to break. Intense pain swept through his entire body in an instant. There was only the ball of light in front of Lu Ping's eyes. The golden elixir in the space of his heart vibrated rapidly, and an endless stream of inner yuan flowed into his blood vessels. The 12 gentian pearls around Lu Ping's body and the 9th grade white jade lotus beneath his feet shone brightly, slightly alleviating the pain in Lu Ping's body. Lu Ping took the opportunity to take the 72nd step. With a dull thud, Lu Ping's right leg slammed heavily onto the stone bridge. Blood flowed out of Lu Ping's mouth, nose, and ears. The gentian pearls that were emitting a colorful glow flickered. From afar, it looked like a candle that was about to be extinguished at any moment. On the 78th step, Lu Ping could no longer contain the injuries in his body. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and Lu Ping's face turned deathly pale. At this time, close to half of Lu Ping's inner yuan had been injected into his legs, so that Lu Ping could still stand straight. However, both of Lu Ping's arms had long been broken, and he did not know how many of his ribs had been broken. However, when Lu Ping took this step, he suddenly realized that the situation did not get any worse. Lu Ping's divine will was constantly monitoring the development of the injuries in his body. This was also the main reason why Lu Ping could still dare to move forward despite his serious injuries. Under the situation where Lu Ping's whole body was under heavy pressure from countless directions, traces of medicinal power hidden in Lu Ping's skin, flesh, and blood began to gradually repair Lu Ping's damaged body. It didn't take long for Lu Ping to understand what was going on. These medicinal efficacies were the medicinal efficacies that couldn't be fully absorbed by Lu Ping's body after he consumed the golden resilience pellets, bone-forging pellets, and other spirit pellets that could strengthen his body. Now that Lu Ping's body was seriously injured, these medicinal power hidden in his body were squeezed out and began to automatically repair Lu Ping's damaged body. Lu Ping knew that if he could overcome this hurdle today, his physical cultivation would undoubtedly improve to the next level. He might even achieve a breakthrough and reach the level of an upper-grade Dharma treasure. Once Lu Ping's physical cultivation could reach the level of an upper-grade Dharma treasure, then Lu Ping's stockpile of Ashwood pure jade fruit, 9th-grade white jade lotus root, lotus seed, and other elixirs that could originally only be refined and consumed when Lu Ping's cultivation reached the Dharma stage, with Lu Ping's current master-level alchemy skills, he could use them now. If Lu Ping could increase the strength of his physical body to the level of a top-grade Dharma treasure after he advanced to the Dharma stage, then when Lu Ping advanced to the Dharma stage, he could use the spirit chi to refine his body and raise his physical cultivation to the level of a Dharma treasure. This would be of great help to Lu Ping in passing the Dharma catastrophe in the future. However, these thoughts flashed through Lu Ping's mind. Now, he was only 2 steps away from crossing the stone bridge. However, these last 2 steps made Lu Ping feel powerless. The inner yuan in his body did not show any signs of depletion even after refining the Wonder Dew. This was the biggest reason why Lu Ping was determined to continue taking the risk. Mobilizing the inner yuan in his body as much as possible to protect his internal organs, Lu Ping resolutely took the 79th step. However, before his foot landed, a force had already broken through the inner yuan that Lu Ping had used to protect his internal organs. Lu Ping's internal organs shook, and a mouthful of blood had already spilled over his clothes. Just as Lu Ping's foot landed, waves of tearing pain came from his arms and back. The muscles in his arms and back had already been torn into countless pieces under the tearing of this unknown but omnipresent force. As he took the last step, sweat rolled down his body, even covering Lu Ping's eyes. His arms hung down. Lu Ping was no longer able to control his arms. Relying on the guidance of his divine sense, Lu Ping relied on his obsession to take this last step. Kacha! The left leg that had landed first was no longer able to withstand the heavy pressure that came from all directions, and it instantly snapped. In the moment that Lu Ping fell, the intense pain caused Lu Ping's consciousness to immediately recover a trace of clarity. His right leg rapidly followed, and in the instant that his right leg also snapped, he finally crossed this last hurdle. The weight that came from all directions instantly disappeared, and the sudden disappearance of the pressure caused Lu Ping's body to instantly switch between extreme weight and extreme lightness. Lu Ping's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and his complexion suddenly turned a purple gold. At this moment, Lu Ping's complexion finally changed, and a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. However, Lu Ping instantly sobered up. He withdrew all his divine sense and immersed it into the core space. On the surface of the withered golden core, the 7 four-legged strange dragons that were on the verge of death, under the stimulation of Lu Ping's divine sense, suddenly recovered a trace of vitality. The 7 strange dragons swam on the surface of the golden core, and a trace of Jin Yuan radiated from the golden core. Then, the 7 strange dragons suddenly looked up to the sky and silently roared. The golden core in the core space suddenly shook, and Lu Ping's heart also shook. Lu Ping's Jin Yuan immediately flowed smoothly, and the purple gold color on his face slowly faded. Lu Ping, who had fallen to the ground, finally let out a long sigh of relief. Right now, Lu Ping's entire body was severely damaged, and there was almost no part of him that did not hurt. Fortunately, the Jin Yuan in his body flowed smoothly, and the torn muscles and tendons quickly recovered under the repair of the Jin Yuan. Although the broken bones could not be repaired in an instant, with the support of the Jin Yuan, Lu Ping could still barely move. With the help of the Jin Yuan, Lu Ping finally managed to open the storage ring on his finger. From within, he found a jade-white spirit pill. This spirit pill was exactly the same as the spirit pill that Lu Ping had previously given to him after Jiang Tianlin Laozu had taken over the medium-sized spirit stone mine. The spirit pellet was originally a half-step Avatar Realm medicinal pellet. But after Lu Ping's alchemy skills reached the Grandmaster level, he upgraded the spirit pellet to the Avatar Realm. It was now a medicinal pellet meant for Avatar Realm cultivators to recover their arcane energy and heal injuries. At this time, Lu Ping did not care whether he would waste this spirit pill. At this time, he just wanted to recover from the injuries in his body as soon as possible, get the benefits, and leave as soon as possible. This was because Lu Ping did not know if anyone else would find this place. Outside the hill, Jiang Tianlin and Jinren Xianchen were the first to arrive. Jiang Tianlin Laozu frowned slightly and drew a line on the surface of the mirror with his hand. The small wine cup that had just been suppressed under a mountain range after being collected was beating rapidly, causing the whole mountain range to shake constantly, as if it was trying to break free from the mountain range. Jinren Xianchen was a little puzzled and asked, "Senior brother, is this small wine cup thing really a spirit treasure?" Jiang Tianlin Laozu nodded with a smile and said, "Before, I was only 50% sure, but now I am 90% sure." Jinren Xuanchen's face was also filled with joy, but then he heard Jiang Tianlin Laozu say, "However, this also means that the spirit of the palace that we are looking for is probably really a pure yang soul." Jiang Tianlin Laozu's tone was a little regretful, but when Jinren Xianchen heard this news, he was not too surprised. Instead, he asked, "Senior brother, why are you so sure that the spirit of the palace is a pure yang soul?" Jiang Tianlin Laozu pointed to the wine cup that was suppressed in the Yingshu treasured mirror and said, "When a spirit-nurturing treasure reaches the peak of the 9th grade, that is, after refining the 9 treasure restrictions, it can undergo the thunder tribulation like a Dharma manifestation cultivator. After passing the thunder tribulation, the treasure can advance to become a spirit treasure, and after becoming a spirit treasure, not only will the spirituality of the spirit treasure increase greatly, but more importantly, after passing the thunder tribulation, the spirit treasure will form a pure yang qi, and this pure yang qi is the key to a spirit treasure." Now that this wine cup is so excited after approaching this hill, it has obviously sensed something that also has pure yang qi, and this area is where the spirit of the palace is located. Obviously, the treasure that has pure yang qi must be the spirit of the palace. Then why can't it also be a spirit treasure, or another Dharma manifestation soul? Venerable Xianchen asked, a little confused. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled and said, "Spirit treasures and normal Dharma manifestation souls are unable to attract the wine cup, which is also a spirit treasure. Only a pure yang soul formed from the Dharma manifestation soul of a Dharma manifestation cultivator who has gone through 3 thunder tribulations, or a spirit treasure that has gone through 3 thunder tribulations and become a pure yang spirit treasure can cause the wine cup to have such a reaction." Pure yang spirit treasure. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled and said, "Peng Laozu's 7 thunder treasures calabash was a pure yang spirit treasure." Venerable Xianchen suddenly understood. No wonder Jiang Tianlin Laozu only said that the spirit of the palace was a pure yang soul, and not a pure yang spirit treasure. If the Ying Tian sect really had a pure yang spirit treasure, how could it have been destroyed? At this time, Lu Ping, who had crossed the stone bridge in the middle of the mountain, finally managed to connect his broken bones with the support of his inner yuan. Although he still could not withstand too much vibration, with the support of his inner yuan, he had no problem walking normally. Lu Ping slowly walked in front of the crystal ball of light that had caused him to go through all kinds of torture. Suddenly, a bluish-purple cloud slowly gathered on Lu Ping's chest. The cloud kept moving, as if there was something hidden within it. The crystal ball of light floating above the stone throne seemed to be attracted by something, and it slowly floated towards Lu Ping's chest. After the ball of light floated in front of Lu Ping's chest, it suddenly stopped, as if it was hesitating. At this time, a strange dragon with antlers on its head, the body of a snake, the legs of a crocodile, the tail of a fish, and the ears of a cow suddenly appeared from the bluish-purple cloud on Lu Ping's chest. The strange dragon flashed in the ball of light, and the bluish-purple cloud seemed to reach its limit in an instant. It began to rapidly shrink into the space in Lu Ping's heart core. However, the hesitant ball of light in front of Lu Ping's chest seemed to be attracted by the strange dragon the moment it appeared. The ball of light flashed and disappeared into Lu Ping's chest the moment the bluish-purple cloud completely shrank into the space in his heart core. Lu Ping's divine sense sank into the space in his heart core, and he saw a pure white ball of light slowly being assimilated by the cloud surrounding the golden core. At this time, the cloud that was slowly revolving around the golden core suddenly froze. It was as if a bolt of lightning had streaked across the sky. A dignified yet ancient and helpless voice suddenly sounded in the space in his heart core: "The inheritance of the Ying Tian faction should not be severed. Lu Ping's divine sense was almost shattered in an instant. Lu Ping nervously searched for the source of the voice, but he found nothing. The ball of light that had just merged into the cloud surrounding the golden core also disappeared. However, the cloud surrounding the golden core was still solidified, and it formed a cloud shield that enveloped Lu Ping's golden core. Lu Ping's divine sense moved, but not only was his divine sense isolated from the golden core, even the true yuan in his body was isolated by this solidified cloud shield. This shock was no small matter, and Lu Ping's soul almost flew out of his body. If this cloud shield was still there, then wouldn't Lu Ping's cultivation be no different from being crippled? Cold sweat suddenly appeared. Lu Ping's mood at this time was even more gloomy than when he had just crossed the stone bridge. What should I do? What should I do? Lu Ping suddenly thought of the voice just now. The inheritance of the Ying Tian faction should not be severed. Could it be that this was a test left behind by an expert of the Ying Tian faction? However, 4,000 years had passed, and even a cultivator who had reached the true spirit level would have long since exhausted their lifespan and turned into ashes. So where did that voice come from? Chapter 671. At this point, Lu Ping could no longer care about where the voice had come from. The most important thing now was to figure out how to break through the purple cloud that had enveloped the golden core. If he could not break it, the little bit of vital energy that remained in Lu Ping's bloodline would become rootless duckweed. Once it was used up, it would be no different from a crippled cultivation. Lu Ping calmed himself down. He did not care if anyone could hear him and said in a low voice, "The Ying Tian faction has been destroyed, but the legacy of the Ying Tian faction will not be severed. I will do my best to spread the name of the Ying Tian faction, but the Ying Tian faction will no longer exist in this world." As soon as Lu Ping finished speaking, he heard a sigh that seemed to be fading away. The red cloud that had enveloped the golden core immediately returned to its original state. At the same time, an unparalleled vital energy suddenly surged from the red cloud toward the golden core. There was no joy on Lu Ping's face. Instead, his expression became even more solemn. This vital energy was obviously the pure vital energy that had been carried by the Dharma Power Soul just now. However, Lu Ping did not intend to absorb it into his own vital energy. Even though Lu Ping's cultivation might increase by leaps and bounds this way, Lu Ping had already learned from Jiang Tianling's scolding of Feng Shutao that only by accepting the legacy of the Dharma Power Soul step by step would he be able to obtain long-term benefits. Moreover, Lu Ping had always pursued the purity and richness of his vital energy. Although the vital energy in the Dharma Power Soul did not have an owner and seemed to be abnormally pure, Lu Ping still insisted on condensing the vital energy in the red cloud first. Then, under the influence of the golden core, it would be slowly refined and absorbed by Lu Ping's body. From then on, it would be transformed into Lu Ping's own cultivation. Lu Ping did not know how much Feng Shutao, Jiang Tianlin, Zhang Shi, and the others had endured when they had inherited the Dharma Power Soul. However, Lu Ping now knew that he could not hold on any longer. The red cloud around the golden core was so thick that it almost covered the golden core again. The range of the red cloud was also increasing. The gentian pearl and the white jade lotus, which were in the innermost layer, were almost covered by the red cloud. However, at this time, the vital energy contained in the Dharma Power Soul had not been completely released. If this continued, Lu Ping could only face two choices. One was to directly integrate the remaining vital energy into his own vital energy. The advantage of this was that Lu Ping's cultivation would improve greatly, but the disadvantage was that in the long run, it might affect Lu Ping after he advanced to the Dharma stage. The second was that Lu Ping would give up on the remaining vital energy and expel it from his body. Although this would not affect Lu Ping's cultivation, such a large amount of vital energy would return to spirit qi and dissipate between heaven and earth. This kind of loss would make Lu Ping's heart ache. Lu Ping did not know how many years he would have to cultivate and how much vital energy he would have to condense before he could replenish the vital energy that he had given up. Just when Lu Ping was in a dilemma, the purple-red cloud finally overflowed the orbit of the 12 Gentian Great Array around the golden core. The red cloud was on the verge of losing control. Right at this moment, the entire 12 elemental star formation suddenly shook. The 9th grade white jade lotus that had been floating below the golden core all this time shone brightly, and the Dan cloud that filled the air rapidly gathered towards the white jade lotus as if it was being swallowed by a whale, forming a huge Dan cloud vortex below the golden core. The other 12 gentian pearls also formed small vortexes, absorbing the red cloud bit by bit, so that the red cloud could not surpass the circle formed by Lu Ping's natal array around the golden core. Of Lu Ping's 13 natal magic treasures, only 5 had been refined by Lu Ping, and they were only spiritual magic treasures. They were far behind Lu Ping's current cultivation of the 7th layer of the core forging stage. This was mainly because Lu Ping's own cultivation had increased too quickly. Not only did he have a large number of natal magic treasures, but each of them was also of extremely high quality. If he wanted to improve them, Lu Ping had to carefully carve the runes on each magic treasure. Only in this way could his natal magic treasures be more compatible with his own true qi. Only in this way could Lu Ping display 120% of his strength. However, now that a large amount of purple mist was pouring into the natal magic treasures, Lu Ping knew that it was because Lao Tzu had absorbed a trace of purple pure yang qi during his celestial phenomenon tribulation. This was because there was still purple pure yang qi in the Dharma idol's soul. If not for Lu Ping's strong rejection, perhaps there was no need for Lu Ping to guide it. The unparalleled true qi released from the Dharma idol's soul would have automatically gathered in Lu Ping's golden core. After the purple mist was infused into the natal mystic treasure, Lu Ping's divine sense could sense that the mystic treasure's quality was slowly improving. The 6th mystic treasure that Lu Ping had engraved previously but couldn't be smelted in a short period of time began to light up after the purple mist was infused into the mystic treasure. Just as Lu Ping was finally able to control the expanding Danxia, Lu Ping's natal gentian formations suddenly intertwined with each other, forming a huge formation space with the golden core as the center. The rolling Danxia kept rushing left and right in the formation space, but it was unable to break through this space. Lu Ping's face lit up with joy. He didn't expect his natal mystic treasure to be refined to the pinnacle of spirit channeling mystic treasures in such a short time with the help of the Avatar's soul. At this moment, the 7 treasures thunder calabash suddenly flew out from the second row around the golden core and carefully approached Lu Ping's natal magic treasure. Since the last time the 7 treasures thunder calabash condensed the 6th treasure restriction, it wanted to occupy the position closest to the golden core occupied by Lu Ping's natal magic treasure, but it was defeated by the natal magic treasure. The 7 treasures thunder calabash had been much more well-behaved in the core space. This time, it slowly approached the life-bound formation, but it seemed to have obtained the recognition of the life-bound formation. The space formed by the formation slowly opened up an exit, and the surging purple Danyun immediately found an exit to vent, and all of it gushed out of the exit. The 7 treasures thunder calabash suddenly swelled up above the exit. The mouth of the calabash was aimed at the exit of the natal magic treasure calabash, and a bluish-purple cloud formed an inverted whirlpool at the mouth of the calabash. Lu Ping knew that the bluish-purple cloud was the trace of pure yang qi that the 7 treasures thunder calabash had snatched from the natal magic treasure. The Danxia that had just gushed out of the exit seemed to be attracted by the pure yang qi in the 7 treasures thunder calabash and was continuously absorbed by the thunder calabash. Just after Lu Ping's natal magic treasure successfully refined the 6th treasure restriction, the refined true essence from the 13 magic treasures gradually gathered and flowed towards Lu Ping's golden core. This part of the true essence had been refined by the natal magic treasure and was no different from Lu Ping's own true essence. After the golden core absorbed this part of the essence, Lu Ping could clearly feel the rapid growth of his own cultivation. Although Lu Ping tried his best to suppress it, his cultivation base still shot straight towards the 8th layer core forging realm. It was only when he reached the peak of the 7th layer core forging realm that Lu Ping finally managed to suppress it. He had only broken through to the core forging late stage a few years ago. Although this new part of the true essence had become the same as his own true essence, it was not obtained through his own cultivation. If he wanted to use it as freely as his own arm, he would need to run it for a long time. Once Lu Ping broke through and stepped into the core forging 8th layer, this part of the unfamiliar true essence would condense in his golden core. In the future, Lu Ping's cultivation would inevitably be adversely affected. Just as Lu Ping's cultivation was steadily rising under the impact of the huge Dharma Power Soul, Lu Ping's divine will suddenly suffered an explosive impact when the gradually fading sigh was heard. A mysterious cultivation technique, more than 1,000 years of cultivation experience, more than 1,000 years of travel, hundreds of life and death battles, strange things in the cultivation world, dangerous valleys, and even the big and small secrets of the Ying Tian sect were all forcibly stuffed into Lu Ping's divine will. Although Lu Ping's divine will was already no weaker than a Dharma adept, the huge amount of information still gave Lu Ping a splitting headache. His divine will was almost lost in the information and was even about to be assimilated by it, causing Lu Ping to become another person. After a long time, Lu Ping finally woke up from his previous state. Only now did he feel waves of fear. The impact on Lu Ping's divine will was actually the Dharma Power Soul's inheritance to Lu Ping. Compared to this inheritance, the pure true essence in the Dharma Power Soul was merely an accessory to maintain the existence of the Dharma Power Soul, even though these accessories had almost caused Lu Ping's heart space to go out of control. At this moment, Lu Ping finally understood how much risk he had taken. What he had inherited was not an ordinary Dharma Power Soul, but a pure Yang soul left behind by a practitioner who had gone through 3 thunder tribulations and had reached the peak of the Dharma adept. He was only one step away from becoming a true spirit. And the stone bridge test that the elder of the Ying Tian sect had set up was obviously not for a late core forging adept like Lu Ping, but for a practitioner who had at least reached the Dharma adept stage. Perhaps the elder had not expected that the test he had set up would be passed by a late core forging adept. Originally, the inheritance of the pure Yang soul could only be inherited by practitioners who had reached the mid-Dharma adept and had gone through the thunder tribulations. This meant that even early Dharma adepts like Jiang Tianlin and Laozu did not have the right to inherit the pure Yang soul. However, Lu Ping had once refined a strand of pure Yang Qi during Laozu's thunder tribulations. Even though this strand of pure Yang Qi had been divided among Lu Ping's own golden elixir, his 13 natal treasures, and the 7 treasures thunder gourd, Lu Ping's inner yuan still carried the aura of pure Yang Qi. And it was precisely because the pure Yang Qi had been contaminated by so many treasures that Lu Ping was able to use his natal treasures and the 7 treasures thunder gourd to help his golden elixir suppress the inner yuan essence released by the pure Yang soul and stabilize the foundation of his practice. Of course, if Lu Ping did not have an early Dharma adept's divine will, he would not have been able to completely inherit the pure Yang soul from a peak Dharma adept. Among the hills, perfected Xianchen, who was walking towards the belly of the hill where Lu Ping was, suddenly exclaimed when he saw Lu Ping inherit the pure Yang soul. "Oh no, the main spirit of the palace has been taken by someone else." Chapter 672. No one was clearer than Lu Ping about the huge benefits that the inheritance of the pure Yang soul had brought him. This benefit did not seem to be reflected in the sharp increase in Lu Ping's cultivation and strength. However, Lu Ping knew that it was because of the inheritance of the pure Yang soul that Lu Ping could go further in the future. The pure Yang soul also brought to Lu Ping many secrets that were buried deep in the cultivation world. These secrets were enough for Lu Ping to clearly see the connections behind many things that happened in the cultivation world. It even included some speculations about the reason why large sects like Ying Tian's sect and Fei Ling's sect, which were once prominent in the cultivation world, were destroyed, as well as the culprit behind them, and so on. However, Lu Ping did not have the time to check all of these. After Lu Ping completely inherited the pure Yang soul, the last sentence that appeared in Lu Ping's divine will was, "After the inheritance of the palace guardian spirit is completed, the Ying Tian dojo will collapse within 6 hours." At this time, Lu Ping's injuries were mostly healed due to the Dharma manifestation healing elixir, as well as the huge amount of vital essence that flowed into him when he inherited the pure Yang soul. Lu Ping turned around and returned to the stone bridge. The forbidden space array that originally covered the space on both sides of the stone bridge had already begun to collapse. Lu Ping looked down and saw that the abyss under his feet that led straight to the shattered space seemed to have become much shallower. The belly of the mountain shook, and broken stones began to fall. Lu Ping ran across the stone bridge at his fastest speed and passed through the corridor in the belly of the mountain. When he came out of the stone door, the hill behind him shook for a while and finally collapsed with a loud bang, sending dust flying everywhere. According to the memory of the pure Yang soul, Lu Ping ran towards the west of this hill. At the edge of this hill, there was a hill that was slightly higher than the surrounding hills. Lu Ping came to a gravel slope behind the hill and found the largest stone. He slashed down with the golden scale sword in his hand, and the stone immediately broke into two. In the center of the stone was an empty nest that was 1 foot square. A purple wooden box was placed in the empty nest. Lu Ping's eyes lit up. He picked up the purple wooden box and examined it before opening it. Inside was a thick book with a purple gold cover. Lu Ping put the book back into the purple wooden box and then carefully placed it in his storage ring. He then turned to the north. In the north of this hill, there was another legacy cultivation technique that was equivalent to the secret manual that Lu Ping had obtained. The Yingtian sect had a legacy of more than 20,000 years. It had officially become a large sect in the cultivation world for more than 12,000 years. Whether it was its legacy or heritage, it far surpassed its overseas ally, the Fei Ling sect. In the 20,000 years of legacy of the Yingtian sect, there had been a total of 4 Laozu who had achieved the true soul level. And the cultivation techniques that these 4 Laozu cultivated were called the direct legacy cultivation techniques by the Yingtian sect. Before the Yingtian sect was destroyed, these 4 direct legacy cultivation techniques were hidden by the Yingtian sect's cultivators in 4 different directions on the hill in the middle of this grotto. The inheritance of the pure Yang soul that Lu Ping had obtained was from the last peak Dharma adept of the Yingtian sect, Fei Tian Laozu. On the eve of the Yingtian sect's destruction, he used his final secret technique to activate the Yingtian dojo and hide it in a crack in space. Fei Tian Laozu eventually died from his injuries. On the eve of his death, Fei Tian Laozu condensed the essence of his Dharma power, which he had cultivated for hundreds of years, into a pure Yang soul and hid it in the belly of a mountain in the central palace grotto. It was used to suppress the central palace, and even the entire Yingtian dojo, so that it could be used by future cultivators to inherit the Yingtian sect's orthodoxy. After Lu Ping obtained the inheritance of Fei Tian Laozu, he naturally valued these 4 direct legacy cultivation techniques that could allow a cultivator to achieve the true soul level. There was only one such cultivation technique in Jinling, and that was a mysterious ape water manipulation technique cultivated by Tai Shan Laozu, the only expert in the history of Jinling who had achieved the true soul level. When Lu Ping arrived at the source of a spring at the foot of a hill in the north, he saw that the spring water had just dried up, and there was a huge pit about 10 feet deep at the source. His heart sank. The direct legacy cultivation technique of the Yingtian sect had already been taken by someone else. Another loud noise was heard. This time, it was not the hill collapsing, but the sound of people fighting. From afar, Feng Shutao shouted angrily, "Jiang Tianlin, you've gone too far. Do you want to keep this treasure all to yourself?" Jiang Tianlin Laozu's loud laughter rang out. "Feng Shutao, even though you and I discovered this treasure together, it's all yours. If you, brother Feng, had snatched it first, do you think you'd be able to split it with me?" "You, humph." Feng Shutao snorted from the sky, and then there was no more sound. It seemed like the Xianling sect had no choice but to swallow their anger. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. From the direction of the sound, there was indeed a place where the Yingtian sect had hidden the treasure. However, the inheritance of the pure Yang soul did not mention it too clearly. It only said that there were some treasures hidden there. It was obvious that the treasures there were not worth Fei Tian Laozu's attention. Lu Ping thought about it. Now that the central palace was on the verge of collapse, many of the previously hidden treasures were gradually being revealed due to the gradual disintegration of the restrictive formations. With the help of Fei Tian Laozu's inheritance, Lu Ping might be able to obtain more benefits than others. However, the various sects Laozu must have already discovered the abnormality of the central palace and were frantically searching for the treasures in the hollow. If Lu Ping was alone and encountered by the Dharma adepts of the other sects, there was no guarantee that the Dharma adepts would want to harm him. The battle between Jiang Tianlin and Feng Shutao just now had already proved that the previous agreement between the various sects was becoming less and less binding in the final moments of the self-discovery of the treasures. Lu Ping quickly ran in the direction of Jiang Tianlin Laozu's voice. Through the inherited memories, Lu Ping knew that although the treasures in that place were not high level, there were many of them. Jiang Tianlin Laozu would not be able to take all of them in a short period of time. Jiang Tianlin Laozu had just chased away Feng Shutao. With the help of Jinren Xianchen, he had just broken the restrictive formations that were already on the verge of collapse. From a cave, he had found a bunch of extraordinary items and low-level spiritual items. Then, he saw Lu Ping flying towards him from afar. Jiang Tianlin smiled and said, "Just in time. This grotto heaven is probably going to collapse soon. It's best for everyone to gather together." After exchanging blows with Feng Shutao just now, I'm afraid that the other sects Laozu will also break the rules and attack recklessly. Lu Ping glanced at the cave behind Jiang Tianlin and found that it was already empty. Therefore, he asked, "Martial uncle, which direction are you coming from?" Jiang Tianlin did not know why Lu Ping was asking this, but seeing that Lu Ping's expression was solemn, he replied, "From the south." "Why?" Lu Ping said, "There is an inherited ancient book buried under a tree at the top of a hill in the south. I wonder if Martial Uncle has discovered it." Jiang Tianlin Laozu and Jinren Xianchen looked at Lu Ping in surprise. Jiang Tianlin Laozu reached into his sleeve and took out a book that was exactly the same as the one that Lu Ping had obtained with a purple gold cover. It was in Jiang Tianlin Laozu's hand. Jiang Tianlin Laozu weighed the secret book in his hand and said, "Are you talking about this ancient book?" Lu Ping was delighted and said, "Yes, this is the ancient book. This is the only 4 direct inheritance ancient books of the Ying Tian faction." Direct inheritance ancient book. Looking at the two's doubtful eyes, Lu Ping did not want to waste time explaining. Therefore, he took out the one that he had obtained and handed it to Jiang Tianlin Laozu. He said, "It is a cultivation method that is even more powerful than a direct inheritance cultivation method. It is just like our sect's art of mystical ape water manipulation." Jiang Tianlin Laozu's expression immediately changed when he heard Lu Ping's words. Although Jinling had 5 true inheritances, all the high-level cultivators of Jinling knew the position of the art of mystical ape water manipulation in Jinling's 5 true inheritances. Since Lu Ping said that the Ying Tian faction's direct inheritance cultivation method was comparable to the art of mystical ape water manipulation, didn't that mean that the Ying Tian faction once had a cultivator who used these 2 cultivation methods to achieve the real soul level? Jiang Tianlin changed his previous casual attitude and carefully kept the 2 ancient books. Spiritual Master Xianchen asked Lu Ping, "How did you know that there was an ancient book there?" Lu Ping naturally could not say that he had already obtained the inheritance of the pure Yang soul. That would be too shocking. Therefore, he only said vaguely, "I just saw a similar record in a treasure trove. Later on, I found this ancient book on a gravel slope in the west according to the record. I don't think it is wrong. Unfortunately, when I went to the source of a mountain spring in the north to look for the other one, I found that it had already been found by someone else. It was Feng Shutao." Jiang Tianlin Laozu said in a low voice, "Feng Shutao and Qian Daofeng came from the north." Lu Ping didn't have time to explain further. He said, "I've also found out about some hidden treasures. There's a wooden bridge in the valley behind the eastern hill. There's also a book that was passed down from generation to generation." As soon as Lu Ping finished speaking, he heard a series of concentrated magic roars from the east. A woman's voice sounded. "Donghua Geezer, Zhang Shi, the 2 of you killed my Shui Yen Pavilion's disciple and even tried in vain to snatch the cultivation method that my Shui Yen Pavilion obtained. When I leave this grotto heaven, my Shui Yen Pavilion will definitely not let you off." Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked at each other. They did not expect their luck to be so bad. They just wanted to find the ancient book, but the Shuiyan Pavilion snatched it first. Moreover, from the Shuiyan Pavilion's Dharma idol Laozu's angry shout, it was obvious that the Azure Sea sect's attempt to snatch it failed. Instead, they killed a Shuiyan Pavilion's core forging stage cultivator. However, they did not know if the person killed was the Shuiyan Pavilion's formation grandmaster. Otherwise, the Shuiyan Pavilion and the Azure Sea sect would really be enemies. Jiang Tianlin Laozu also laughed dryly. Out of the 4 direct inheritance ancient books, our sect got 2. It is considered not bad. Daoist Xianchen turned around and said, "Do you know where the treasures are?" Lu Ping was stunned and said, "Now that the formations and restrictions of the entire grotto heaven have started to collapse, the treasures that were previously hidden have started to be exposed. However, there are indeed a few places that are more important in my memory. Let's walk from the southeast first. If we are lucky, we can find a treasure vault that stores earth-rank spiritual items, an underground scripture pavilion, and a spirit sealing box that stores spiritual pills." Chapter 673. In reality, after Jinling had entered the central palace, other than Jiang Tianlin, Laozu, and spiritual master Xianchen, who had used the shadow-following spell to teleport together, the rest of the people had left a secret imprint on Jinling's path. This was so that the cultivators from different sects could communicate with each other. After Jiang Tianlin and the other 2 had raided 3 treasure locations and found many training resources and training manuals, spiritual master Xian Su and spiritual master Xianchen followed the imprint left by Jiang Tianlin and the others and caught up. Jiang Tianlin looked at the pale-faced spiritual master Xian Su and the disheveled spiritual master Xianchen. He frowned and asked coldly, "Who was it?" Spiritual master Xian Su was reluctant to use the bell cauldron pill that Laozu had refined for each of them. He took a pill from Lu Ping that was specially used to heal late core forging adepts, swallowed it, and quietly refined it. Spiritual master Xianchen swallowed a pill to recover his inner yuan and answered, "It was Feng Shutao." According to senior brother Xian Su, after Feng Shutao saw senior brother Xian Su, he suddenly launched a sneak attack. Although spiritual master Xuanqiu was on guard, he was no match for a Dharma adept like Feng Shutao and was heavily injured in one blow. Feng Shutao originally wanted to attack, but I had already rushed over and joined forces with senior brother Xian Su to block Feng Shutao's second attack. Luckily, Misty Laozu from the Misty Water Pavilion passed by and somehow blocked Feng Shutao's attack. If not for that, the 2 of us would have died at Feng Shutao's hands. As Jiang Tianlin and Laozu listened to spiritual master Xuanchen's words, their faces turned colder and colder. It was only when they heard that Misty Laozu had attacked Feng Shutao that he raised his eyebrows and exchanged glances with spiritual master Xianchen and Lu Ping. Jiang Tianlin and Laozu snorted and said, "You guys were caught in the crossfire." Feng Shutao was angry that I had chased him out of a treasure location and attacked junior brother Xian Su for no reason. I will remember this for now. After this is over, I will teach him a lesson. Enlightened Master Xian Sen didn't expect this to be the reason. Enlightened Master Xian Chen was already smiling at the side. Fortunately, the 2 senior brothers and junior brothers aren't in danger of dying. Oh right, junior brother Xian Sen, did you gain anything from the grotto heaven? Speaking of this, Daoist Master Xian Sen's spirit was roused as he said, "Other than the 100 stalks of 3,000-year-old spiritual grass and several hundred stalks of 1,000-year-old spiritual grass that we seized from the spiritual grass garden, I also found a cave near the spiritual grass garden. From there, I found a few books regarding the cultivation and identification of spiritual grass, as well as a complete set of tools to cultivate spiritual grass." Xianchen, Master, Xianchen, and Xianchen, Feng, Tian, He, Xian, and Xianchen, and opened. This is good stuff. Jiang Tianlin and Laozu praised. Spiritual Master Xianchen then took out another spiritual spirit sealing box and said, "Not only this, I also found this thing." Everyone looked at the thing in Xuanchen's box and was shocked. Lu Ping blurted out, "Living soil." Spiritual Master Xianchen smiled and said, "Hee hee, Martial Nephew Lu, you are very knowledgeable. You even know about living soil. I thought that us cultivators from overseas would be very unfamiliar with this thing." Lu Ping smiled embarrassedly. Everyone did not mind. Jiang Tianlin and Laozu said slowly, "It is a heaven-tier mid-grade spirit item. Its actual value is not below those heaven-tier peerless spirit items. Although it is only a quarter of a portion, it is still very rare." At this moment, Spiritual Master Xian Su woke up after refining a healing elixir. He said, "Fortunately, junior brother Xianchen came in time. Although he was injured by Feng Shidao, his foundation was not injured. However, this time, I also obtained a few treasures." Jiang Tianlin and Laozu saw that although Spiritual Master Xian Su was seriously injured, he had a face full of excitement when talking about the treasures he obtained. Jiang Tianlin guessed in his heart and said, "Junior brother Xian Su, did you find a suitable heaven-tier spirit item?" Spiritual Master Xian Su was stunned for a moment and said with a smile, "Senior brother's guess is very accurate. This time, I found a treasure trove that the Surplus Heavens faction used to store heaven and earth spirit items. I obtained 7 to 8 types of earth-tier spirit items and 3 types of heaven-tier low-grade spirit items. Among them, there is a metal-type spirit item that is most suitable for me to smelt, the Fantasy Star Sand." Spiritual Master Xian Su then looked at Lu Ping and said with a smile, "Although I obtained gold essence of Yulon at the Fantasy Spirit Creation Auction, my cultivation technique is special. The gold essence of Yulon is not a spirit item that is completely suitable for me. This time, it can be said that my wish was fulfilled. However, with my current cultivation, smelting the Fantasy Star Sand will be very difficult. When the time comes, I will need the help of the Sex Alchemy Grandmaster and you will need to consume the Minor Forging Spirit Pill. It is a pity that the grade of the spirit item I smelted when I was at the mid-core forging stage is affected. I cannot smelt higher-grade spirit items." Lu Ping agreed with a smile. Now, he even had the complete spirit forging pellet recipe. Although it was a waste for enlightened Master Xian Su to use the spirit forging pellet in his current condition, he could still use the small spirit forging pellet to greatly reduce the cultivation time needed to refine a heaven-ranked spirit item. Cultivators were actually subject to many restrictions when smelting heaven and earth spirit items. The most obvious one was that they could not smelt a spirit item that was 2 grades higher than them. For example, if a cultivator smelted a low-grade earth-tier spirit item for the first time, they could only smelt a high-grade earth-tier spirit item for the second time. If they used the spirit forging pill, they could at most smelt 2 portions. However, if a cultivator wanted to smelt 3 portions of high-grade earth-tier or low-grade heaven-tier spirit items, it would be useless no matter how many spirit forging pills he used. Of course, this was only the most ideal situation. In the real world of cultivation, after most cultivators smelted a low-grade earth-tier spirit item for the first time, they would not be able to smelt a high-grade earth-tier spirit item for the second time. Only if they smelted 2 portions of low-grade earth-tier spirit items for the first time would it be possible. Since Spiritual Master Xian Su said that he was no longer fated to smelt a higher-grade spirit item, it meant that the second time he smelted was only a mid-grade earth-tier spirit item. Moreover, it was very likely that he only managed to smelt 1 portion. Sage Xian Su's harvest was not limited to this. He took out another storage pouch and said, "Before I found the mark left behind by my sect, I also found a treasure vault that stored transcendent artifacts. I found 5 normal transcendent artifacts, 3 spiritual transcendent artifacts, and a bunch of transcendent artifacts. This is the last one." Spiritual Master Xian Su flipped his palm and a flexible sword appeared in his hand. Spiritual Master Xian Sun looked at the flexible sword in Spiritual Master Xian Su's hand and said enviously, "A metal-type spirit nurturing magic treasure? Senior brother, your luck is really good." Although late-core forging adepts could use spirit nurturing magic treasures, they were rare. Secondly, using spirit nurturing magic treasures was a huge challenge to the late-core forging adepts' inner yuan. Thus, late-core forging adepts usually only used spiritual magic treasures. Only those who reached the 9th level of core forging or the Dharma stage would use spirit-nurturing magic treasures. This trend was even more obvious in the barren world of cultivation in the North Sea. For people like Lu Ping, who had several spirit-nurturing magic treasures at the late core forging stage, and Jiang Tianlin, who had mastered spirit treasures at the early Dharma stage, they were after all only elites or special cases. Spiritual Master Xian Su waved the flying sword in his hand, soft thorn, which had been condensed with 7 treasures. He was already a 9th-level core forging expert in Jinling, but he still didn't have his own spirit-nurturing magic treasure. Although he was Celestial Phenomenon Laozu's disciple, metal-type spirit-nurturing magic treasures were extremely rare in Jinling. Thus, until now, Spiritual Master Xian Su still didn't have a spirit-nurturing magic treasure. The two of them roughly talked about what happened in the central cave. Spiritual Master Xian Sun then asked Jiang Tianlin and the others about their harvest. Jiang Tianlin, Laozu, simply said, "So far, we've found 5 or 6 treasure vaults. We've collected some spirit items, mystical items, spiritual materials, elixirs, spiritual herbs, magic treasures, and ancient records. Some of them are of high quality." Spiritual Master Xian Su and Spiritual Master Xian Sun were speechless when they heard this. Both of them knew that Jiang Tianlin had high standards. Since he said the words, high quality, they guessed that the spirit items must be at least heaven level, and the magic treasures must be at least at the spirit nurturing level. The 5 people in Jinling talked as they walked. Lu Ping looked at the surrounding terrain and suddenly thought of something. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Uncle Master, there's a spirit treasure that has survived 2 thunder tribulations. Are you confident that you can take it?" "What?" Xian Su and Xian Sun were both shocked. Even Ancestor Jiang Tianlin's face flashed with a hint of fanaticism, but he immediately calmed down. After pondering for a while, he said, "Is it really a 2 tribulation spirit treasure? I didn't expect that after the Yingtian sect went through the Battle of Annihilation, not only would they be able to leave behind a first calamity spirit treasure, the wine cauldron, they would also have a 2 calamity spirit treasure. This is going to be a little difficult. To subdue a 2 calamity spirit treasure, one must at least have the ability of a great adept. Although I think that my current ability is able to go up against a mid-Dharma adept, that's just me. I don't have the ability to suppress a 2 calamity spirit treasure." Jiang Tianlin Laozu sighed as he said this. It was obvious that he was very regretful that he could not subdue a 2 calamity spirit treasure. However, when Lu Ping and the others heard Jiang Tianlin Laozu's words, their hearts involuntarily skipped a beat. Jiang Tianlin Laozu's ability was already able to go up against a mid-Dharma adept. Jiang Tianlin Laozu naturally would not lie. Since he dared to say this, he must have his own confidence. Lu Ping and the others knew that Jiang Tianlin Laozu's ability far surpassed that of adepts of the same level, but no matter what, they would never have thought that his ability had already reached such a high level. It was no wonder that even though there were 2 Dharma adepts in the Songhai sect and Feng Shuzhao of the Xianling sect had reached the peak of the early Dharma stage, he still behaved so nonchalantly and did not seem to care about these people at all. After the Yingtian sect had gone through the Battle of Annihilation, it was reasonable to say that the spirit-nurturing treasures and spirit treasures that the Yingtian sect had collected should have long been used by the Dharma adepts of the Yingtian sect to defend against their enemies. After the Yingtian sect had been annihilated, these spirit treasures should have either been destroyed or become trophies of others. There should not have been many spirit treasures left in the Yingtian sect. However, first, Jiang Tianlin Laozu had obtained a spirit treasure, the wine cauldron, and now, an even more powerful spirit treasure had appeared. How could this not surprise Jiang Tianlin Laozu? If not for the fact that Lu Ping had spoken so confidently, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's tone would not have been one of hesitation, but of suspicion. This numinous treasure was actually the Skysore ancestor's intrinsic Dharma treasure. At the last moment, the Skysore ancestor had hidden the Yingtian dojo in a spatial rift. Due to his severe injuries, he was unable to fully control his intrinsic numinous treasure, so the numinous treasure had fallen into the wilderness of the central grotto heaven. Lu Ping smiled slightly and said, if it is a damaged spirit treasure, how confident are you, Uncle Master? Chapter 674. Lu Ping smiled and said, if it's a damaged level 2 spiritual treasure, are you confident? Even if I'm not confident, I have to try. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled and said, if it's a complete level 2 spiritual treasure, there's no way I can subdue it. Master Uncle Tianxiang has the only level 2 spiritual treasure in our sect, which was left behind by Grand Ginseng Laozu. It was only after Master Uncle Tianxiang became a great cultivator that he was able to use it completely. I've seen that treasure before, and I don't think it's possible to subdue it. However, if the spiritual treasure is damaged, with your help, perhaps there's a 30% chance of suppressing it. Don't even think about subduing it. Spiritual treasures have intelligence, and it's not something that can be subdued just because you want a 30% chance. Sage Xian Su ignored his face that was flushed due to excitement and jumped up. Let's do it. If we can't suppress it in the end, then forget it. If we let it go, we might regret it for the rest of our lives. Sage Xian Sun and Sage Xian Chen also nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Jiang Tianlin said, in that case, we have to hurry up. Earlier, Martial Nephew Lu said that the Yingtian dojo would collapse in 6 hours. More than 2 hours have passed since we came here. We must suppress the spiritual treasure into the Yingshu treasured mirror as soon as possible. In the middle of the hills at the southeast edge of the central palace, there was a stream that was about half a mile long and 100 feet wide. The group of 5 from Zhenling's sect was standing on top of the stream. Patriarch Jiang Tianlin's eyes suddenly opened, and Reverend Xianchen, who was beside him, asked anxiously, how is it? Jiang Tianlin Laozu nodded and said, there's indeed a faint pure yang qi below. It seems that there's indeed a spiritual treasure hidden in it, but I don't know what it is. Hearing this, everyone's faces lit up. Lu Ping naturally knew what the flying Apsaras Laozu used to be, but he couldn't say it at this time, lest he arouse the suspicions of his martial uncles. Jiang Tianlin Laozu nodded at Sage Xian Chen and said, let's begin. Sage Xian Chen turned and left, circling around the stream to survey the terrain. At the same time, he placed the formation equipment on the surveyed ground. About 15 minutes later, perfected Xian Chen walked 1 round around the stream, and a large formation was already formed. Enlightened Master Xian Chen came before the crowd and used his hand to brush away the hair on his forehead that was drenched in sweat. He said, this time, I've prepared a total of 3 sets of high-grade setup tools for this trip to the Central Plains. Previously, I've used 1 set to open the 6-colored restriction area and the restriction in the Central Palace. I was originally reluctant to use the last set, but for the sake of this numinous treasure, it's not a loss to destroy this set of tools. The tools used for setting up formations were different from the magic tools and magic treasures used by cultivators. Most of these tools were divided into 4 grades, top grade, middle grade, and low grade. Only a Grandmaster level array master could bring out the full power of a top grade array tool. Apart from a small number of formation equipment that could be used repeatedly, the rest would be useless after a single use. Therefore, it was extremely difficult for a sect to nurture a formation master. The cultivation resources needed to nurture a formation master were comparable to that of an alchemist. Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked at everyone and said, after I use all my strength to pull out the treasure from the depths of the stream, all of you will wander around and restrain the treasure to prevent it from escaping. Don't fight it head-on, or else you'll be seriously injured even if you don't die. Seeing how serious Jiang Tianlin Laozu was, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. A damaged level 2 tribulation spirit treasure still had such power? Ancestor Jiang Tianlin patted his chest, and a huge luan bird stretched out its neck and let out a long cry as it soared into the sky from behind him. The luan bird circled in the sky, then swooped down towards the stream. When it flew over the stream, its 2 sharp long claws reached into the stream. The water in the stream rippled, and the luan bird seemed to have caught something. The luan bird flapped its wings with all its might, and the grass, trees, bamboo, and stones on both sides of the stream were blown away. However, it could no longer fly into the sky. Patriarch Jiang Tianlin's expression was solemn. He flicked his sleeves toward the water surface, and 108 green leaf-shaped natal magic treasures fluttered and fell on the wings of the Dharma phoenix, forming a dense layer. The power of the phoenix's wings greatly increased when it flapped its wings. Finally, it carried the items under its feet and flew up shakily. The sound of water breaking rang out, and the treasure hidden in the depths of the stream finally revealed itself. Everyone looked at the Luan bird's feet and saw a short, broad-bladed axe firmly grasped by the Luan bird's claws. Even so, the huge axe was still jumping up and down. Every time the axe jumped, it would pull the Luan bird down. At this time, the Luan bird had no choice but to flap its wings with all its might, and at the same time, its claws tightened. Lu Ping could clearly see that every time the axe jumped, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's face would turn green, and his hands would begin to tremble, as if he had reached his limit. At this moment, the pitch-black axe suddenly struggled in the direction of the Luan bird, and in an instant, it broke free from its claws. Not only was Jiang Tianlin Laozu caught off guard, but Lu Ping and the others didn't expect the axe to think of such a way to break free. No wonder Jiang Tianlin Laozu said that the treasure had intelligence. It really was very intelligent. After the axe broke free from Jiang Tianlin Laozu's grasp, it turned around and flew away. Lu Ping reacted the fastest. He swung a long spiritual whip in his hand, and it wrapped around the short handle of the axe. Lu Ping felt a huge force coming from the whip. He had clearly underestimated the power of the axe. Caught off guard, Lu Ping's entire body was lifted into the air by the axe, and then he landed on the water. As the axe flew, it created a huge wave on the surface of the stream. Lu Ping's entire body was soaked, and he was in a very sorry state. At this time, Xian Sen and Xian Su used their own abilities to tangle with the axe. Xian Chen communicated with the formation, intending to completely trap the axe. In the water, Lu Ping hurriedly used the water control art. The water in the stream formed a water rope that firmly tied Lu Ping's feet, and Lu Ping's entire body was suddenly supported in the air. Under the joint efforts of the four late core forging enlightened masters, the axe was finally temporarily restrained in the air. Jiang Tianlin Laozu's Dharma Luan bird flapped its pale green wings and rushed over again. Its sharp claws once again grabbed the axe. Unexpectedly, at this time, the bright white blade of the axe suddenly turned up, and a sharp blade light slashed towards the abdomen of the Dharma Luan bird. Jiang Tianlin Laozu was shocked, and the Dharma Luan bird let out an urgent cry. Its claws loosened, and it threw the axe away. At the same time, it quickly streaked across the sky in an attempt to avoid the blade light. The green leaf-shaped magic treasures on its wings flew down and stuck to the abdomen of the Dharma Luan bird, making it look like it was wearing a green scale armor. In the end, the Dharma Luan bird was unable to completely avoid the blade light. A white mark appeared on the scale armor on the abdomen of the Dharma Luan bird. Fortunately, the scale armor was not chopped into pieces. The Dharma Luan bird let out a mournful scream, and its huge body swayed in the sky. Below, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's face turned pale, and he coughed repeatedly. A few streaks of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Lu Ping and the others hastily rushed forward to entangle the axe again. However, the axe suddenly spun in the air, and a series of circular blade lights slashed in all directions. Daoist Master Xian Sen and Daoist Xian Su's divine abilities were immediately broken. Daoist Xian Su was already injured, and when his divine ability was broken, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His complexion had already begun to turn ashen. Daoist Master Xian Sen didn't have it any better. His chest rapidly heaved up and down, and he continuously retreated several tens of feet. Lu Ping's long whip was covered in a layer of spirit water, and he used the water control art to continue wrapping around the short handle of the axe. Unexpectedly, a blade light slashed over, and not only was the spirit water on the long whip broken, this spiritual long whip that had followed Lu Ping for a long time was also forcibly cut in half by this blade light. A spiritual magic treasure was destroyed just like that. Daoist Master Xian Chen tried to use the formation to temporarily suppress the axe, but he was struck by a series of blade lights at the same spot. The formation that Daoist Master Xian Chen had painstakingly laid down was immediately broken. Seeing that the axe was about to escape from the hole, Lu Ping hurriedly took out Landslide and ruthlessly smashed it towards the axe. A loud dang sound rang out, causing Lu Ping's ears to ring. Although Landslide had smashed the side of the axe, it was still no match for the divine might of the spirit treasure, and was knocked back. Lu Ping saw with his own eyes that a huge depression had appeared at the bottom of the Landslide seal, and the size was similar to the shape of the side of the axe. When Landslide was damaged, Lu Ping's blood surged, and his heart ached terribly. This magic treasure had been by Lu Ping's side since he was in the blood-refining realm, in the form of a magic treasure. It had made many contributions for Lu Ping in killing enemies and fighting. After that, as Lu Ping's cultivation increased, Lu Ping also raised Landslide to the level of a spiritual magic treasure, and it was one of Lu Ping's most favorite magic treasures. Although Landslide was no match for the axe, that collision had ultimately prevented the axe from rushing out of the control of Daoist Master Xian Chen's formation. Daoist Master Xian Chen took the opportunity to repair the broken formation, and at the same time, he circulated the formation's power to shift the area that had been broken. When the axe rushed out again, it crashed into the formation's protective shield. "Quick, the formation can't hold for long!" Daoist Master Xian Chen shouted. Lu Ping suddenly remembered that he still had a spirit-nurturing magic treasure that specialized in suppressing. It was originally a treasure of the Surplus Heavens sect, so he hurriedly summoned 8 scenic pavilions from the Golden House. 8 scenic pavilions was a large-scale magic treasure with spatial properties. It was different from the Surplus Heavens treasure mirror. Although it had spatial properties, it was not a heavenly abode magic treasure. Instead, it was something similar to a sect's place for punishing, suppressing, or training its own cultivators. Although Lu Ping had yet to completely refine 8 scenic pavilions, he could just barely take it out and use it. 8 scenic pavilions rose from Lu Ping's palm, transforming into a giant tower that was 80 feet tall. The 8th floor of the tower lit up, and a purple thunderbolt of light extended downwards, combining the power of ice from the 7th floor of the tower, the power of wind from the 6th floor of the tower, and the power of earth, fire, water, wood, and metal from the 5th floor and below. Then, a gray light shot out from the bottom of the tower, nailing the axe in midair. Chapter 675. The appearance of Baiyang Tower not only temporarily suppressed the axe spirit treasure, but even Jiang Tianlin and the others were surprised that Lu Ping had such a wondrous spirit-nurturing treasure in his hands. However, although everyone secretly sighed at Lu Ping's good luck, no one was slow. Daoist Chuanshan's array formation kept shrinking the space in which the axe could fly, so as to concentrate more of the power of the array formation. Daoist Xianchen and Daoist Chuanqiu also rushed over, ready to join forces to suppress the axe spirit treasure after it broke through the suppression of Baiyang Tower. Jiang Tianlin Laozu activated the Yingshu treasure mirror, and a cyan beam of light covered the axe spirit treasure. The spirit treasure, which was about to break free from the suppression of Baiyang Tower, calmed down again. Jiang Tianlin Laozu's Dharma idol, Cyan Luan, flew over and circled around Baiyang Tower. Jiang Tianlin Laozu stretched out a finger, and the Cyan Luan's wings folded. 108 green leaf magic treasures all flew up and fell towards the suppressed axe spirit treasure layer by layer, wrapping the entire spirit treasure tightly. The snow-white blade also disappeared, and the previously mighty and heavy spirit treasure was now only cumbersome. The spirit treasure tried its best to break free from the triple shackles of Baiyang Tower, Yingshu treasure mirror, and Jiang Tianlin Laozu's natal magic treasure. A series of tremors caused Lu Ping and Jiang Tianlin Laozu's faces to turn pale, and the true essence in their bodies poured out like flowing water towards the treasures in their hands. Jiang Tianlin Laozu controlled the Yingshu treasure mirror to cover the sky above the axe spirit treasure. The treasure mirror suddenly swelled up, and a light curtain formed on the mirror's surface, looking like a bright moon in midair. The cyan beam of light emitted by the Yingshu treasure mirror gradually shrank, and together with Baiyang Tower, it was about to be absorbed into the Yingshu cave. At this time, the axe spirit treasure seemed to have realized that it was about to be suppressed, and an earth-shaking power suddenly burst out of the axe spirit treasure. The axe spirit treasure, which was originally pulled close by the light beam of the Yingshu treasure mirror, once again pulled away from the treasure mirror. At this time, Daoist Xianchen was finally able to mobilize all the power of the array formation and began to push the spirit treasure into the space light curtain of the Yingshu treasure mirror. Daoist Xianchen and Daoist Chuanqiu were somewhat unable to intervene. Seeing that the spirit treasure was about to be suppressed into the Yingshu treasure mirror, the axe spirit treasure wrapped in Jiang Tianlin Laozu's natal magic treasure burst out several attacks like the previous white blade lights. However, before these blade lights were shot out, Tianlin Laozu Jiang spirit treasure, Jiang Tianlin, Laozu's natal magic treasure, and only left behind a white light that flashed. Lu Ping watched carefully with his 3 pure true pupils. After a few flashes of white light, a few of Jiang Tianlin's 108 leaf-shaped mystic treasures had cracks on them. On the other hand, Jiang Tianlin's face turned even paler after the flashes of white light. Seeing that the spirit treasure was struggling again, and Jiang Tianlin Laozu seemed to have reached his limit at this time, Lu Ping did not hesitate to draw down a purple thunder from the sky. With the help of the thunder tribulation water, the power of the 7 treasures thunder gourd was even more violent. Although Lu Ping did not use it, but when the purple thunder fell, Lu Ping could clearly feel the fear of the axe spirit treasure. Lu Ping thought about it and understood. Spirit treasures were called spirit treasures after they had passed the thunder tribulation. Just like the Dharma manifestation cultivators, they had a natural fear of the thunder tribulation. After Lu Ping's great magical power of thunder, with the help of the thunder tribulation water, its power was far beyond ordinary great magical power. Although its power still could not cause harm to the spirit treasure itself had a natural fear of the thunder tribulation, allowing Jiang Tianlin Laozu to seize the opportunity. The light of the Yingsu treasure mirror soared and swallowed the axe spirit treasure together with the Baiyang Tower. After the surface of the mirror calmed down, another picture appeared on the mirror. In the opposite direction of the wine tripod, another spirit treasure suppressed by Jiang Tianlin Laozu, a mountain slowly fell, pressing the axe spirit treasure on the top of the mountain. And Lu Ping's Baiyang Tower, which was helping to suppress the spirit treasure, was about to fly out of the Yingsu treasure mirror, but the mountain that was suppressing the spirit treasure shook and was about to collapse. Lu Ping had no choice but to let the flying Baiyang Tower land on the mountain again, and the mountain that was originally shaking suddenly quieted down. Jiang Tianlin Laozu took back his Dharma idol, thought for a while, and said, "Nephew Lu, I'm afraid I'll have to borrow this magic weapon for a while. After returning to the sect, when Celestial Phenomenon Laozu makes a move, I'll return this magic weapon to you." Lu Ping nodded helplessly. In fact, if Jiang Tianlin Laozu used his 108 life source magic weapons to form a formation of 108 towering trees on the mountain, he could actually suppress the axe spirit treasure again. However, the 108 leaf-shaped magic weapons were Jiang Tianlin Laozu's life source magic weapons. Now, whether it was the central palace or the Yingtian dojo, or even outside the dojo, they were all in a crisis. Jiang Tianlin Laozu was the #1 expert who protected everyone. Without the help of his life source magic weapons, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's strength would undoubtedly be greatly reduced. Another 2 hours had passed since everyone began to discuss how to capture the axe spirit treasure. Now, there was only half an hour left before the collapse of the dojo. During this time, no one knew what the other sects had gained, but everyone knew that no matter what the other sects had gained, Zhenling's 2 spirit treasures were already the best among the sects, not to mention a medium-sized spirit stone vein, a magic weapon pill furnace, spirit forging pill recipe, 2 sets of heirloom cultivation methods, and several other sets of heirloom cultivation methods. In addition, Zhenling had collected more than a dozen heaven-grade spirit treasures. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled and said, "This trip to the Yingtian dojo can be said to be quite fruitful for our sect. Now that more than 4 hours have passed, I think the treasures in the central palace should have been collected by the cultivators of the various sections. Now that the dojo is about to collapse, we should first get out of the central palace. As soon as Jiang Tianlin Laozu's voice fell, the ground under everyone's feet shook. Under everyone's horrified gazes, the water in the stream rapidly dropped. Jiang Tianlin Laozu's divine sense swept over and he exclaimed, "Not good, the space at the bottom of the stream has actually been split open by the spirit treasure." Previously, the dojo was embedded in the crack, so this grotto heaven could only remain intact. Now that we have pulled out the spirit treasure, this spatial crack has further expanded, and this grotto heaven is about to collapse in advance. As he spoke, the hills on both sides of the stream had already begun to collapse. Jiang Tianlin Laozu did not dare to tear open the space nearby to leave the central grotto heaven, so everyone could only return the way they came. Along the way, everyone found that the various restrictions in the grotto heaven were rapidly weakening. The range of their divine sense had gradually expanded, and the restrictions that forbade flying had also gradually lost their effectiveness. Everyone was overjoyed and began to fly. Their speed immediately increased, and at the same time, they used their divine sense to check their surroundings to see if they could find any treasures that they could conveniently take. However, the results were obviously disappointing. Along the way, everyone found many places where treasures were hidden. However, the restrictions inside had already been broken, and the treasures were empty. Just as Jiang Tianlin Laozu was looking for a relatively stable space to tear open the grotto heaven and return to the dojo, he saw Lu Ping suddenly stop. Jiang Tianlin Laozu frowned and said, "Martial nephew Lu, the space here is still a little close to the place where the collapse occurred. Now, we don't know what the Yingtian dojo has become. It's best for us to find a safe place to prevent other disasters from happening when we tear open the space." Lu Ping smiled mysteriously and said, "Martial uncles and martial uncles, please wait for a moment." After saying that, Lu Ping stomped on the ground, but the ground did not move. Lu Ping's expression immediately changed. Just as he was about to raise his foot and stomp again, he saw the ground not far away from everyone slowly bulge. Under everyone's surprised eyes, De Bao climbed up from the ground with his face covered in dirt. When he saw Lu Ping, he was just about to speak, but when he opened his mouth, an arrow of blood shot out. Lu Ping hurriedly went forward to support De Bao, who was on the verge of collapsing, and asked, "What happened?" De Bao fiercely wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a sad face, "Boss, I only took half of those 3 treasures. The rest were all taken by others. If it wasn't for De Bao's quick reflexes, I'm afraid I would have been killed before I could even use the earth-burrowing technique." Lu Ping was shocked and blurted out, "You met a Dharma adept?" As soon as the words left his mouth, Lu Ping knew that he had asked the wrong question. If he had met a Dharma adept, no matter how good De Bao's earth-burrowing technique was, he would not have been able to escape death. Indeed, De Bao rolled his eyes and said, "If I had met Dharma adept Laozu, would I still be alive?" As he said this, he carefully glanced at Jiang Tianlin and Laozu. In his mind, only Jiang Tianlin and Laozu were the scariest to him. The others gave De Bao a feeling that they were not as intimidating as Lu Ping. Hence, De Bao was not afraid of them. It turned out that the 3 treasures that Lu Ping had discovered along the way had been covered with restrictive spells that De Bao could not do anything about. Hence, he wanted to see if he could think of a way to get them from underground. Unexpectedly, right at this moment, the restrictions around these 3 treasures suddenly began to weaken. De Bao was overjoyed and took all of the treasures in one of the treasures. However, just as De Bao excitedly began to collect the second treasure, a cultivator suddenly barged in. When he saw De Bao, he was obviously stunned. When De Bao realized that the person who had come was of a higher level than him, he slammed his head into the ground. Only then did he remember that De Bao seemed to have seen the person before. It was a late core forging adept under the 3rd Bright Laozu of the Chongming sect, who was in alliance with Xinling. However, De Bao was cautious by nature. Although he knew that the person who came was a friend and not an enemy, De Bao was a demon cultivator after all. Who knew what kind of intentions the person had? Hence, he fled in the direction of the 3rd treasure. It was a pity that De Bao only managed to collect 1/3 of the 2nd treasure. The rest fell into the hands of the Chongming sect cultivator. Unfortunately, Debao's luck was really bad today. Just as he entered the third treasure, the Chongming sect cultivator sensed the existence of the treasure and rushed over. At this moment, another cultivator rushed over. Both sides immediately engaged in a fierce battle, and the Chongming sect cultivator was defeated and had to retreat. Debao had just taken a few things when he was injured by another cultivator who barged in. If it were not for Debao's fast speed, he would have been killed. After listening to Debao's description, Lu Ping narrowed his eyes slightly. A murderous aura was brewing in his eyes. He spat out a few words, Xian Ling sect, Lu Shuheng, you're courting death. Chapter 676. Debao's injury made Lu Ping very angry. In his heart, he had already classified Lu Shuheng as a dead man. However, the people of Jinling did not think that Lu Ping's words were exaggerated. With Lu Ping's current strength, he was indeed qualified to say such seemingly arrogant words. Jiang Tianlin Laozu heard Lu Ping's words and said lightly, Xian Ling's sect has received help from the Crystal Palace, and Lu Shuheng is about to form a high-level gold core. Immortal Xian Su and the others were quite surprised that Lu Ping still had a backup plan like Debao. Originally, after they obtained the Axe Spirit treasure, they had no chance to search for other treasures. They did not expect that Lu Ping had already left such a foreshadowing. Although they had only obtained 1.5 of the 3 treasures, it was still a pleasant surprise for someone of Debao's cultivation level. On the other hand, Debao quickly tossed his grievances of being injured to the back of his mind. Stepping on Lu Ping's light, he began presenting his treasures to Lu Ping. Boss, I don't think there's anything good in these 3 treasure chests. There aren't any heaven-grade spirit treasures like the ones we saw earlier. I only found some second-grade spirit materials, 1,000-year-old spirit herbs, a few low-grade earth-grade spirit items, a dozen mystical items, and a few ordinary mystic treasures. Boring. Immortal Xian Su and the others were speechless when they heard Debao's words. These things might not be useful in the eyes of late core forging realm cultivators, but it was absolutely impossible for them to not be tempted by these treasures. These things were things that Jinling urgently needed. But, Debao dragged his tone, immediately attracting Immortal Xian Ji's attention again. Lu Ping knew Debao's temperament, so he was not surprised by this. Although a lot of the treasures in the second and third treasure troves were taken by the other 2, I was the first to take the most important treasure in the third treasure trove. Looking at Debao's proud smile, Lu Ping sensibly asked, "Oh, what is that?" Seeing that Lu Ping was really interested, Debao suddenly became excited. He took out a brocade box from the storage pouch around his neck and handed it to Lu Ping, motioning for Lu Ping to open it. Lu Ping did not know what Debao was trying to do, but he still opened the brocade box in his hand. Looking at the item in the brocade box, Lu Ping's face showed a hint of surprise. Beside him, enlightened Master Xian Chen also looked at the brocade box and exclaimed, "Ah, another spirit-nurturing treasure." When the others heard this, they took the brocade box from Lu Ping's hand and looked at the item inside. Spirit-nurturing treasures were used by the majority of Transcendence Realm cultivators in the cultivation world. For late core forging realm cultivators, if they had 1 or 2 spirit-nurturing treasures to protect themselves, then they would often be existences that were not to be trifled with. Since Jinling entered the Yingtian dojo, although he had obtained 2 spirit-nurturing treasures, he did not obtain many spirit-nurturing treasures. In addition to Lu Ping's Baiying Tower, Immortal Xian Su's Soft Stab Sword, Jiang Tianlin's Laozu obtained from breaking the 3-colored restriction area, and the 5-colored restriction area. In addition, when he broke the 6-colored restriction area, he found 7 spirit-nurturing treasures. Jinling obtained 3 of the weaker ones, while the remaining 4 were divided between the Chongming sect and the Jade Sword sect. When he broke the central palace, he found a few spirit-nurturing treasures that were at least 8 spirit-nurturing treasures. However, because Immortal Jiang Tianlin chose the Wine Cauldron, Magic Treasure Pill Cauldron, and half of the Spirit Forging Pill recipe, by Jinling's second round of selection, the spirit-nurturing treasures had already been divided among the cultivators of the various sections. After that, in the central grotto heaven, Jiang Tianling's Laozu obtained another spirit-nurturing treasure. In total, Jinling had obtained 8 spirit-nurturing treasures, and now Jinling had obtained his 9th. If these 9 spirit-nurturing treasures were placed in the North Sea's cultivation world, it would cause a huge uproar. This showed how precious spirit-nurturing treasures were. No one expected that the spirit-seeking rat demon, who was only at the first layer of core forging, would be able to find a spirit-nurturing treasure. Patriarch Jiang Tianlin picked up a small bell from the brocade box and played with it in his hand. The clear ringing sound was like a stream of sweet spring water that flowed into everyone's divine sense, causing everyone to feel relaxed and happy. At the same time, they gained a preliminary understanding of the power of the small bell. The small bell was actually a spirit-nurturing magic treasure that was specifically made for the divine sense of cultivators. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu put the bell back into the brocade box, closed it, and handed it to Lu Ping. This flower-protecting bell is the best among the 9 spirit-nurturing treasures. In terms of use, its value is second only to your Buying Pavilion. Lu Ping took out all the things De Bao had obtained and gave most of them to Laozu. These were to be handed over to the sect. De Bao grimaced in pain, but Lu Ping knew that De Bao was a ghost. Lu Ping didn't believe that De Bao didn't have some treasures on him. The mountains and plains in the distance kept collapsing. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu finally found a relatively stable place. Then, he flicked his sleeves and 2 huge elemental hands pulled at the space in front of everyone, creating a portal that led straight to the dojo. At that moment, the Yingtian dojo began to shake from time to time, as if it would collapse at any moment due to the hidden spatial cracks. After Jinling returned to the dojo from the Yingtian dojo, he found that 6 of the 9 great sects of the North Sea had already left the Yingtian dojo. Seeing Jinling come out, the cultivators from the various sects had different reactions, but all of them had a trace of envy and jealousy. Jinling was undoubtedly the biggest winner in this trip to the Yingtian dojo. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu didn't care at all. At that moment, the various sects still didn't know that Jinling had actually suppressed another spiritual treasure in the Yingtian dojo. Otherwise, Lu Ping was 70% sure that the various sects' Laozu would join forces to deal with Jinling after hearing the news. Sanming Laozu had already left the central palace. When he saw Jinling and the others coming out, he immediately went forward. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu asked in a low voice, "How's the situation?" Sanming Laozu smiled bitterly and said, "It's not good. It seems that the various sects don't dare to trust each other." Previously, after the Water Mist Pavilion and the Ocean Flame sect had a falling out, the Water Mist Pavilion was attacked by the Blue Sea sect in the central cave and lost a late core forging realm disciple. Feng Shidao secretly went to find trouble with the Lingu sect and seriously injured the late core forging realm disciple of the Lingu sect. After that, the Blue Sea sects Zhangxi and Dongguo arrived, and Feng Shidao retreated. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu listened silently for a moment and asked, "Martial Uncle Sanming, was the trip smooth?" Sanming Laozu smiled bitterly and said, "My luck is not bad, but I also fought with the people of the Flying Feather sect." In the end, both sides took a step back, and it was over. Jiang Tianlin's Laozu nodded and was about to say something, but he saw a crack suddenly appear in the sky above the already dilapidated central palace. Tong Sword Laozu held a sword in one hand and a late core forging realm cultivator in the other. He jumped out of the crack. Jiang Tianlin and Sanming Laozu saw that Tong Sword Laozu was acting strangely and hurriedly went to greet him. Tong Sword Laozu saw the two coming and threw the disciple in his hand to the side. He opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of dirty blood at his feet. Sanming Laozu was shocked and said, "Brother Tong Sword, how are you?" Tong Sword Laozu spat out the dirty blood in his mouth, and his complexion looked much better. He smiled and said, "It's just a small injury, it's not a big deal." Jiang Tianlin's Laozu saw that Tong Sword Laozu's injury was caused by fighting with someone. He looked around and only Firmament Laozu of the Sea Flame sect had not returned, so he asked, "Why did the Sea Flame sect have a conflict?" Tong's sword Laozu smiled and said, "That firmament old ghost might not have an advantage." As soon as Tong's sword Laozu's voice fell, a loud noise was heard above the palace. A space passage was forcibly opened, and a gloomy firmament Laozu jumped out of the passage with 2 injured disciples. His clothes were torn, obviously cut by Tong's sword Laozu's long sword. His gloomy face was pale, and there was no doubt that he did not have an advantage in the confrontation with Tong's sword Laozu. Seeing that all the sects had gathered, Jiang Tianlin Laozu said loudly, "Everyone, the Yingtian dojo is about to collapse. I know that all the sects have their own plans, but I still want to remind everyone that the formation we set up outside the dojo could no longer stop the space oscillation when we broke the 5-colored forbidden area in the dojo. Now, I'm afraid that the secret of the Yingtian dojo is not only known by the sects of the North Sea. I'm afraid that the 3 sects in the Yingtian mountain range, or even more sects, already know about it." Jiang Tianlin Laozu paused and looked at all the sections. When Laozu saw that they did not refute what he said, it was obvious that they had already agreed with what he said, so he continued, "The reason why these cultivators from the Middle Earth and the Northern Ice Plains did not enter the Yingtian dojo is probably because they are waiting for us to go out and catch us all in one fell swoop. At that time, everything we have obtained in the Yingtian dojo will belong to them." Jiang Tianlin Laozu's words caused the hearts of all the sects to tremble. Perhaps Jiang Tianlin Laozu's words were exaggerated, but all the Laozu had to admit that it was very likely that they would be besieged by the cultivators from the Middle Earth sects after they went out. When Jiang Tianlin Laozu saw that his goal had been achieved, he continued to speak of his plan. "Therefore, in my opinion, after we go out later, we must not act on our own. Instead, we should advance and retreat together and work together to break the blockade of the cultivators from the various sects outside the dojo. After that, we will split up and break out. What does everyone think?" Other than the Chongming sect and the Jade Sword sect, all the other sects remained silent. This suggestion came from Jiang Tianlin. If Laozu agreed to it, wouldn't it mean that all the sects would have to listen to Jinling's orders? Right at the moment when the situation was in a deadlock, a voice suddenly resounded. "I think that Martial Nephew Tianling's words are reasonable. After we leave the dojo, my Mistwater Pavilion is willing to break out together with Jinling." All the Laozus looked at Mistwater Pavilion's Mistwater Laozu with a surprised expression. She seemed to want to express some hidden meaning. Among them, Ocean Flame sect's Firmament Laozu was even angered to the point of trembling. Mistwater Pavilion is going to side with Jinling. Chapter 677. Outside the Yingtian dojo, in the sky above the source of the Ying River, a few tall figures floated in midair. They looked down at the entrance of the Yingtian dojo, which was protected by a large formation. Waves of spatial fluctuations could still be felt from there. After the collapse of the central grotto heaven, the entire Yingtian dojo began to collapse. Changhe Laozu of the Ying River sect was also standing among these people, but at this moment, he was standing at the very back, and he looked very respectful. On his 2 sides were Wuji Laozu of the Yingshan sect and Yushang Laozu of the Daoyu sect. In addition, there were 3 early Dharma adepts, and their attire was similar to that of the mid-Dharma adept standing in front of the 2 adepts. They were probably from the same sect. One of the 2 leading adepts was the only mid-Dharma adept, and the other adept beside him who was chatting happily with him was only at the early Dharma stage. However, this early Dharma adept was clearly of a higher status than Changhe Laozu and the others behind him. In fact, when he was chatting with the mid-Dharma adept, it was the mid-Dharma adept who did most of the talking. The early Dharma adept was obviously much more reserved, only occasionally smiling, nodding, and occasionally exchanging a few words with the mid-Dharma adept. The mid-Dharma adept did not seem to be offended, and instead seemed to be even more interested in the conversation. At this moment, the mid-Dharma adept seemed to have thought of something, and he turned around to ask Changhe Laozu, who was behind him, "Changhe, tell us roughly what happened that day. Although we were fully prepared, we still need to know our enemies well." Changhe Laozu acknowledged respectfully, And then he recounted how Changhe Laozu and the others had fought with Jiang Tianlin Laozu. He said, that day, when the three of us were fighting with that person, there were other adepts of the same level watching us from all sides. They thought that they had done a good job, but they did not know that our sect really had a treasured mirror that we had obtained from the Yingtian sect years ago. Through this mirror, we could detect the situation within a certain range of our surroundings. Their movements had already been seen by the three of us, and after that, the three of us discovered traces of many people. We discovered that there were about a dozen of them, and about 5 or 6 of them were at the Dharma stage, and it was highly likely that they were in cahoots. The mid-Dharma adept did not care about anything else, but when he heard that Changhe Laozu and the other two had actually joined forces to fight against the adept who had concealed his appearance, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. With a slightly serious expression, he asked, "Are you sure that the person who fought with the three of you was really at the early Dharma stage?" A look of embarrassment flashed across the faces of Changhe Laozu and the others. After all, it was not a good thing to fight 3 against 1, and in the end, the 3 of them had been defeated by a single person. That was even more embarrassing. However, now was not the time to be afraid of losing face. Changhe Laozu and the other two said in unison, "We dare not hide this from Mr. Gu Chang. That person is indeed at the early Dharma stage, but his abilities are indeed much stronger than ours." Mr. Gu Chang paused for a moment and said, "If that is really the case, although we have made some preparations this time, it will be difficult for us to defeat 5 or 6 early Dharma adepts. In such a hurry, it will be difficult for us to find more Dharma adepts to help us." The early Dharma adept beside Mr. Gu Chang smiled without saying a word. Beside him, Changhe Laozu said rather anxiously, "With Mr. Gu Chang's help, even if that adept is at the early Dharma stage, he can't possibly go up against Mr. Gu Chang, who is at the mid-Dharma stage. When the time comes, with Gu Qing, Gu Ming, and Gu Hui joining forces with us, and the other formation that we have set up outside of this concealment formation, do you think they will be able to escape?" Mr. Gu Chang said coldly, "If it is really as you say, the early Dharma adept who defeated the 3 of you single-handedly will most likely be able to escape." Changhe Laozu was stunned. His mouth moved as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, no words came out. Mr. Gu Chang looked coldly at Changhe Laozu before he calmed down and said, "Compared to what these people have gained from the Yingtian temple, I would rather know which sect they are from. After all, just like the person you mentioned earlier, in the Central Plains, adepts like him are mostly from famous sections. Moreover, to send out 5 or 6 early Dharma adepts at once, if they are not from famous sects, how could they have such power? If we become enemies with these people today, even if the Gu family has some power, we will not be a match for those famous sections." Changhe Laozu said anxiously, "These people could be from the same sect. If they were from the same sect, when the 3 of us surrounded that person that day, those Dharma adepts who were watching from the sidelines would definitely not have stood by and watched. It is also impossible for them to be from a famous sect. If that was the case, the people who came to the Yingtian temple now would not just be early Dharma adepts. I am afraid there would have been great adepts who would have come out to take control, and they would not have set up such a covert array." Mr. Gu Chang smiled and said, "You have calculated it well. Even so, I am sure that the adepts in the temple would have expected us to ambush them. Even if the Dharma adepts are weak, they will not die so easily. This time, we have set up an ambush. At most, 3 or 4 of those 5 or 6 Dharma adepts will be killed." Changhe Laozu wanted to argue, but he heard Mr. Gu Chang's tone change as he said to the early Dharma adept beside him, "However, if Brother Yuan helps us, it is not impossible for us to kill all 5 or 6 of them this time." The adept beside him smiled and said modestly, "Mr. Gu, you must be joking. Yuan is only an early Dharma adept. What can he do?" Although this person's words were modest, there was a hint of arrogance and confidence in his reservedness. Mr. Gu Chang laughed and said, "Brother Yuan is too modest. Who doesn't know that the adepts of the Yuan clan are difficult to defeat at the same level? Just now, Changhe said that the early Dharma adept who fought against 3 of them alone, don't you want to meet him, Brother Yuan?" Mr. Gu Chang's words seemed to have touched a chord in Yuan Lai's heart, but Yuan Lai would definitely not get involved in the fights between these small sects for the time being. Although the news of the Yingtian Temple's appearance had shocked him, he had come to the border between the Central Plains and the Northern Ice Plains this time, and he had a secret mission to carry out for his clan. He could not lose the bigger picture because of a small gain. The most important thing about the Yingtian Temple were some ancient records. These things were priceless treasures to other sects, but to the Yuan clan, they were nothing. Therefore, Yuan Lai laughed and said, "Brother Gu, you flatter me. If what Brother Chang has said is true, that person really fought against 3 of us alone, then I am most likely not a match for him." Mr. Gu Chang was experienced and ruthless. Although he was puzzled by the sudden appearance of Yuan Lai, the adepts of the Yuan clan had always had an outstanding reputation in the world of practice, so he was not afraid that Yuan Lai might have any malicious intentions. He wholeheartedly wanted to rope in Yuan Lai as a helper because the reputation of the Yingtian Temple was not small in the Central Plains. He needed to borrow the reputation of the Yuan clan to block off those who coveted it. Mr. Gu Chang was not a brainless person like Changhe Laozu. What he cared about was not how many things he could obtain from the Yingtian Temple, but whether or not he could successfully occupy these things without incurring the interference of the more powerful sections. After all, the reputation of the Yingtian Temple was not something that a medium-sized aristocratic family like the Gu family could swallow in one go. However, if he could rope in Yuan Lai, this matter would become much easier. The Yuan clan was the #1 aristocratic family in the Central Plains. The inheritance of the clan could be traced back to the era of the 7th patriarch, who opened the heavens. Throughout the generations, there were countless cultivators and experts. It was a power that even the cultivators of some of the large sects in the Central Plains had to be respectful to. If a cultivator from the Yuan clan participated in the matter of the Yingtian Temple, then some of the large sects that wanted to intercept the Gu family would not be able to figure out the relationship between the Gu family and the Yuan clan. Of course, if the Gu family were to climb up the Yuan clan and establish a friendship with this Midway clan, Mr. Gu Chang would naturally be more than happy to see this happen. Perhaps the Gu family's status in the Central Plains cultivation world would rise greatly because of this. It was unknown if Yuan Lai was disdainful, unwilling to be involved in this matter, or if he had seen through Mr. Gu Chang's thoughts. In any case, he did not agree. Mr. Gu Chang's divine will could feel the increasingly violent vibrations coming from the space in the distance, and he could not help but feel anxious. If he could not get Yuan Lai to intervene in this matter, the Gu family would not dare to capture all these Dharma adepts in one fell swoop. In this way, the benefits of this ambush would definitely be greatly reduced. After all, the Gu family would not dare to focus all of the attention that the Central Plains cultivation world had on the Yingtian Temple on the Gu family. Mr. Gu Chang's eyes turned, and he seemed to have thought of something. He smiled and said, "Brother Yuan is too humble. Who doesn't know that the Yuan clan produces talented people? I heard that among the younger generation of practitioners in your clan, there is a person called Yuan Feixiang. Some time ago, when he was only at the late core forging stage, he severely injured a Dharma adept who had the power of a Dharma adept, making his name known throughout the Central Plains cultivation world. I wonder what relationship this person has with Brother Yuan." When Yuan Lai heard Mr. Gu Chang mention Yuan Feixiang's name, his expression instantly became somewhat silent. A dim light flashed in his eyes, but it was instantly caught by the sly Mr. Gu Chang, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. After that dim light flashed in Yuan Lai's eyes, his entire being became somewhat proud. He said, "Feixiang is my younger cousin, and he is truly the #1 expert among the younger generation of practitioners in the clan. Although I have advanced to the Dharma stage earlier than him, compared to my younger cousin Feixiang's future, I am still far behind." TSK, Mr. Gu Chang waved his hand and said, "Brother Yuan is really too humble. I think Brother Yuan did not get the chance after all. If there had been such a chance, Brother Yuan might not have done any worse than your younger brother. Who knows how high your future achievements will be in the future?" Yuan Lai and Yuan Feixiang were of the same generation, and the two of them were also similar in age. Yuan Lai had advanced to the Dharma stage at a young age, and in terms of practice, he was even a head above Yuan Feixiang. Naturally, he was also one of the best in the Yuan clan. However, Yuan Feixiang was also brimming with talent. Although he had not advanced to the Dharma stage, the Yuan clan had already seen him as a future core member of the clan to be cultivated. This caused many of the practitioners of the same generation in the Yuan clan to secretly feel jealous, and Yuan Lai was obviously one of them. Mr. Gu Chang seemed to know a lot about the news of the Yuan clan, so he cleverly wanted to use Yuan Feixiang to carry out his own strategy. How could Yuan Lai not see through Mr. Gu Chang's plan? He was originally about to refuse, but he suddenly changed his mind and dispelled the idea. Yuan Lai looked at Mr. Gu Chang strangely. Just as Mr. Gu Chang was being stared at by Yuan Lai, thinking that his scheme had been seen through by Yuan Lai suddenly spat out a few words that made Mr. Gu Chang overjoyed. "All right, I'll help you." At this moment, a loud noise suddenly came from the sky above Ing River. A huge space tunnel was opened, and the practitioners of the various sects of the North Sea were finally about to exit the Yingtian dojo. Chapter 678. This spatial passage was big enough for the people inside to come out, but no one came out. Gu Chang, Laozu, and the others had a bad feeling in their hearts. At this moment, there was another loud bang, and the spatial passage widened once again. If the previous passage was big enough for 2 people to enter and exit, after this attack, it was big enough for 4 or 5 people to enter and exit at the same time. Gu Chang, Laozu's heart sank, and he said, "Not good, they've already predicted our ambush, and they're coming out together." As if to prove Mr. Gu Chang's words, just as he finished speaking, there was another loud explosion, and the original spatial passage doubled in size again. Mr. Gu Chang hurriedly said to Long River, Laozu, and the others, "You 3 sects cultivators form a Dao soldier formation, quickly move forward, and break this concealment formation that the other party has set up. Hurry!" Although Long River, Laozu, and the others were slightly puzzled, and the 3 of them had previously suggested breaking this concealment formation first, and when the people from the dojo appeared, they would attack them head-on. However, at that time, Mr. Gu Chang did not allow it, and now he urgently wanted the 3 sects to break the concealment formation and shrink the encirclement. The 3 of them suppressed the dissatisfaction in their hearts, and each issued an order, ordering the disciples of their sects to work together to attack this formation that surrounded the Yingtian dojo's spatial crack. Yuan Lai saw the expressions of the 3 people, and he said with a smile, "It seems that these people did not understand Mr. Gu's meaning." Mr. Gu Chang looked at the 3 figures in the distance, and a look of disdain appeared on his face, and he said, "They are all short-sighted people blinded by greed. They only obtained a little bit of what the Yingtian faction left behind, and they really think of themselves as the successors of the Yingtian faction." Yuan Lai declined to comment but changed the topic to ask, "Previously, Mr. asked the cultivators of the 3 sects to set up a formation around the periphery. You must have planned to make everyone stay. Now that the Dao soldier formation has moved forward, it will certainly give the opponent a head-on attack the moment they appear, but it will also give the opponent a chance to escape in the chaos." Mr. Gu Chang nodded his head in approval. With a serious expression, he said, "From what the 3 of them said earlier, I'm afraid we've underestimated our opponents. Now that they've opened up the space tunnel, they're not in a hurry to appear. Instead, they're continuously widening the space tunnel. It's obvious that they're working together to prevent us from taking them down one by one. There must be experts among their opponents. If that's the case, if there really are 6 or 7 Dharma adepts, it's not realistic for us to kill all of them. We might as well find an opportunity to kill a few of them during the chaotic battle." Yuan Lai smiled and said, "Mister, you've thought this through. As the saying goes, a bird in the hand is worth 1,000 birds in the bush. Furthermore, mister, you can't figure out the background of the people in the training hall right now. I'm afraid you're also worried, aren't you?" Mr. Gu Chang's thoughts had been exposed by Yuan Lai, but not only did he not feel embarrassed, he even laughed loudly and said, "Brother Yuan knows me best. For a moment, the two of them seemed to appreciate each other. Unfortunately, this scene was quickly ruined by a loud noise and Mr. Gu Chang's slightly exasperated shout. Just as the core forging adepts of the Yinghe, Yingshan, and Dao space sects joined forces to form the Dao soldier formation and tighten their formation, the concealment formation that the North Sea adepts had set up earlier was easily broken. And at this moment, the space tunnel above the source of Yinghe River had also been expanded to its largest size. Just as Mr. Gu Chang and Yuan Lai looked at each other and laughed, a strong aura formed by the condensation of several Dharma adepts had already descended. Mr. Gu Chang's laughter stopped abruptly, and Yuan Lai's expression also turned serious. 10 Dharma adepts. Mr. Gu Chang flew into a rage and shouted at Changhe Laozu and the other two, "These are the 6 or 7 Dharma adepts that you were talking about?" Changhe Laozu and the others' expressions changed as well. 10 early Dharma adepts were equivalent to a third of the strength of a large sect. Seeing so many Dharma adepts surging out from the training hall, the adepts of the 3 sects were in an uproar, and the Dao soldier formation that they had formed was also thrown into disarray. Jiang Tianlin, Laozu, and the other 10 Dharma adepts had attacked together. Although they had predicted that there would be people lying in ambush outside the training hall, they had not expected there to be so many people. There were already 8 Dharma adepts, and among them, there was even a mid-Dharma adept. There was also a Dao soldier formation that was formed by tens of mid and late core forging adepts. However, what really made Laozu of the various sects feel a lingering fear was this Dao soldier formation. It was formed by tens of mid and late core forging adepts. If the formation was really practiced to perfection, even if the level of the formation itself was not high enough, it would still be enough to fight against 2 or 3 Dharma adepts. If one was unlucky and was surrounded by the Dao soldier formation alone, it was not impossible for one to die. Laozu of the various sects felt a sense of relief in his heart. Luckily, he had not gone against Jinling just now. If he had really come out alone, then he would have fallen into the enemy's trap, and it would have been obvious that he would have died. Laozu of the various sects were all experienced people. Seeing that their opponents were obviously shocked by their own formation, they quickly seized the opportunity when the Dao soldier formation was operating and joined forces to attack the formation. Although these Laozu of the various sects would be fine even if they were trapped in the formation for a short period of time, behind these 10 North Sea Laozu of the various sects, there were tens of late core forging adepts from the various sections. This Dao soldier formation could not do anything to Dharma adepts, but against core forging adepts, it was a great killing machine. The power of these 10 Laozu's attacks was earth-shattering. Even though Changhe Laozu and the other 2 quickly used their Dharma adepts to control the operation of the Dao soldier formation after they reacted, causing the power of the formation to increase by another level, under the full power of these 10 Laozu, the 3 late core forging adepts who bore the brunt of the attack did not wait for their bodies to be hit back before they were turned into dust where they stood. There were also 5 or 6 people who were sent flying and seriously injured. In an instant, the entire Dao soldier formation was in chaos. Although Changhe Laozu and the other 2 tried their best to suppress it, the power of the Dharma adepts was too terrifying. Although the disciples of the 3 sects barely managed to set up the Dao soldier formation, the 3 sects' cultivators did not belong to each other, and they had not practiced it beforehand to familiarize themselves with it, so it was difficult for them to fully unleash the power of the formation. Seeing that these cultivators only needed to join forces for a second attack to completely break through the Dao soldier formation, a long howl suddenly came from the sky. Mr. Gu Chang had brazenly attacking 2 people at once. After all, they were mid-Dharma adepts, so the North Sea cultivators Laozu of the various sects did not dare to be careless. Dongguo Laozu, Feng Shidao, and Tongjian Laozu were the first to attack, and the 3 of them worked together to block Gu Chang Laozu in midair. After the North Sea cultivators had left the dojo, Yuan Lai had set his sights on Jiang Tianlin Laozu. This was because, among the 10 Dharma adepts, Jiang Tianlin was the closest in age and temperament to the person who had single-handedly forced Changhe Laozu and the other 2 to retreat and injured Changhe Laozu. Although Yuan Lai had seen through Gu Chang Laozu's motive in provoking him to help, he had agreed to help because he wanted to draw the Gu family to his side. Although the Gu family was not very powerful in Central Plains, they still had two mid-Dharma adepts. In the future, if Yuan Lai wanted to make a name for himself in the Yuan clan and raise his status in the clan, even to the point of being able to compete with Yuan Feixiang, who was known as the most outstanding talent in the last few hundred years of the Yuan clan, the Gu family would be his first supporter. Before Yuan Lai had made up his mind to attack, he had thought about the cause and effect of all these things. Therefore, after seeing Jiang Tianlin, all that was left in Yuan Lai's mind was an endless desire to fight. He wanted to see who would win against this adept of the same level, who was able to fight against 3 adepts of the same level, like himself, who was stronger than the adepts of the large sects in Central Plains. Yuan Lai rubbed his hands together, and a bolt of lightning silently fell from Jiang Tianlin Laozu's head. However, Jiang Tianlin Laozu seemed to be prepared for this. A jade pendant on his waist flashed with a bright light, and a green barrier appeared. The bolt of lightning hit the barrier, but it only left a ripple on it. Yuan Lai did not attack again after his first attack had failed. The attack just now seemed to be a test, but also seemed to be a greeting. It was more like he was testing whether Jiang Tianlin Laozu was worthy of him fighting. Jiang Tianlin Laozu turned his head and soared into the sky. Yuan Lai followed suit, and the two of them faced each other from a distance of several tens of feet. Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked at the person in front of him and smiled. "Your Excellency has great lightning magic. You must be a disciple of the Yuan clan." Yuan Lai was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he asked, "Your Excellency, which sect are you from? With such skills and cultivation, you must not be a nobody." Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled. "I'm just an itinerant cultivator from the mountains." "Thank you for your concern." Yuan Lai ignored Jiang Tianlin Laozu's attempt to cover up and said directly, "The things in the Yingtian dojo are not things that you can monopolize." The news of the opening of the Yingtian dojo should have already spread to the cultivation world of the Central Plains. If you hand over a large portion of your gains from the dojo, with the face of the Yuan clan, we might be able to save your lives. Otherwise, even if you can escape today, you will be hunted down by the entire cultivation world of the Central Plains. Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked at the arrogant disciple of the Yuan clan in front of him in amusement. "If all the cultivators of the Yuan clan are as arrogant as you are, then I am very disappointed in the number 1 clan of the Central Plains. You, impudent!" Yuan Lai was hurt by the undisguised disdain in Jiang Tianlin Laozu's eyes. A wave of anger rose from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. From behind Yuan Lai, more than 10 lightning chains shot out one after another towards Jiang Tianlin Laozu from all directions. Looking at the lightning that filled the sky, Jiang Tianlin Laozu revealed a grave expression that had never been seen before. No matter how arrogant the disciples of the Yuan clan were, the title of the number 1 clan of the Central Plains was definitely not just for show. Just as Jiang Tianlin Laozu and Yuan Lai began their battle, the 3 Dharma adepts of the Gu clan that Mr. Gu Chang had brought along, as well as Changhe Laozu and the other 2, also joined the battle. They were fighting with the Laozu of the various sects of the North Sea. The core forging adepts of the 3 sects could finally breathe a sigh of relief. They regrouped the Dao soldier formation that had been previously scattered and took the lead in surrounding one of the battles. With the help of the Dao soldier formation, they would definitely be able to end this battle first. Once the Dharma adepts were free to attack, Mr. Gu Chang's original plan of taking them down one by one would be realized. However, just as the Dao soldier formation surrounded Changhe Laozu from the Misty Water Pavilion and Misty Water Pavilion, more than 10 treasures suddenly surged out from the space tunnels that Laozu of the various sects had opened up earlier and attacked the cultivators of the 3 sects who had just formed the formation. The first to appear was a huge golden sword that carried an unstoppable momentum. Under the panicked gazes of the cultivators of the 3 sects, it slashed down. Chapter 679. In fact, the various North Sea sects Laozu did not care too much about these ambushes. As long as they did not stumble into someone else's trap, it was rare for Dharma adepts to engage in a life-and-death battle between Dharma adepts, because it often meant that both sides would suffer. And the appearance of the 10 Dharma adepts from the North Sea had actually broken the trap that Mr. Gu Chang and the others had previously set up outside the training hall. When Gu Chang Laozu and the others had no choice but to entangle these Laozu disciples, they planned to use the Dao soldier formation to rearrange the trap and then carry out the method of breaking them one by one. However, Gu Chang Laozu had overlooked a weakness that truly worried the North Sea Laozu disciples. That was, after the various sects Laozu rushed out of the training hall to fight, the late core forging adepts from the various sects were still hiding in the training hall. This was the biggest weakness of the various Laozu disciples. The encirclement of the Dao soldier formation was a threat to the Dharma adepts, but to the various sects' late core forging adepts hiding in the training hall, it was simply a nightmare. The Dharma adepts could still hold on when trapped in the formation, but for the late core forging adepts like Lu Ping, when trapped in the Dao soldier formation and faced the attacks of dozens of mid and late core forging adepts, there was no way they could survive. Just as the Dao soldier formation surrounded Long River Laozu, who was fighting Smoke Beast Laozu intentionally or unintentionally turned his body, disrupting the rhythm of his attack and defense. This allowed Long River Laozu to gain the upper hand for a moment, and Smoke Beast Laozu was beaten into a sorry state. However, what Long River Laozu did not see was the trace of a mocking smile on Smoke Beast Laozu's face. Just as Smoke Beast Laozu revealed a flaw in his movement and was chased by Long River Laozu, the encirclement of the Dao soldier formation also turned involuntarily. The cultivators that formed the Dao soldier formation were all facing the direction of the source of the Ying River. In the sky above that direction, the space passage that Laozu had previously opened up was wide enough to know that it had not yet been closed. Once the Dao soldier formation was activated, Smoke Beast Laozu would be completely trapped in the Dao soldier formation. At that time, Long River Laozu, whose cultivation was slightly higher than Smoke Beast Laozu, would also assist the formation from the side. At that time, Smoke Beast Laozu would probably really be in danger of dying. However, in the face of Long River Laozu's harassment, Smoke Beast Laozu did not reveal any panic. Instead, a sly smile appeared on his face, as if his plot had succeeded. Long River Laozu's heart sank and he suddenly recalled something. Turning his head, he was about to warn Long River when he saw a sky-piercing, gigantic golden sword slashing down from the back of the Dao soldier formation. 2 mid-stage core forging cultivators and 1 late-stage core forging cultivator were caught off guard and were cleaved into 2 by the gigantic sword. The Dao soldier formation shook, but it did not break. However, the gigantic golden sword was only the beginning. Immediately after, more than a dozen magic treasures carrying their respective masters' divine abilities and spells fell down and bombarded the Dao soldier formation. More than a dozen cultivators from the 3 sects were either killed or injured. The entire Dao soldier formation immediately collapsed amidst the panic of the cultivators from the 3 sections. Long River Laozu was so anxious that his eyes were about to burst into flames. He was not the only one. On the other side, Wuji Laozu and Yushang Laozu also had a look of grief and indignation on their faces. They roared angrily and wanted to rush towards the disciples of their sects who were being slaughtered. However, the North Sea Laozu, who were fighting against them, suddenly exerted force as if they had a tacit understanding, entangling the 3 Laozu cultivators. The 3 Laozu's hearts were bleeding. These dozens of middle and late-stage core forging cultivators were the sum of the elite disciples of the 3 sections. They were the result of the 3 sects' thousands of years of inheritance and development. They were also the foundation of the 3 sects' future. Now, more than half of them had been killed or injured in a sneak attack. This was simply annihilating their sects. More than a dozen late-stage core forging cultivators rushed out from the space tunnel that had yet to close. These cultivators were different from the middle and late-stage core forging cultivators of the 3 sections. Aside from the 3 formation masters, they were all cultivators from the North Sea sects who had high hopes of advancing to the Dharma realm. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to the Yingtian dojo by the sects to try their luck. These late-stage core forging cultivators were far from being comparable to the cultivators from the three small sections. Therefore, when more than a dozen cultivators suddenly rushed out from the back of the Dao soldier formation, the entire Dao soldier formation did not have time to react before one-third of the people were killed. The remaining cultivators fought on their own. Although they still had the advantage in numbers, they were still no match for these North Sea late-stage core forging cultivators. After refining the pure Yang soul, Lu Ping's divine sense grew stronger and stronger. Through the space tunnel, he could clearly observe the situation on the battlefield. Although the other cultivators could also barely see the situation outside through the space tunnel, they were still far from being able to do so when compared to Lu Ping. Therefore, when the sect seized the opportunity created by Yan Zhan Laozu and attacked from behind, Lu Ping took the lead and killed 3 late-stage core forging cultivators with the golden scale sword, causing the cultivators who rushed from behind him to feel a chill in their hearts. Fortunately, they were now on the battlefield, and everyone could only unite against the outside enemy. Otherwise, there might be cultivators who saw Lu Ping as a future enemy and shot him in the back. After these North Sea core forging cultivators rushed into the Dao soldier formation of the 3 sects, they did not stop at all. However, they no longer rushed to kill these cultivators of the 3 sections. Instead, they concentrated their strength in the direction in which the Laozu of the various sects had rushed in. They were trying to escape. Although Gu Chang Laozu was surrounded by Feng Shidao, Donghua Laozu, and Tongjian Laozu, he was after all a mid-Dharma stage expert. He had already firmly occupied the upper hand and was clear about the situation on the battlefield at a glance. However, when the core forging cultivators of the various sects suddenly rushed out of the space tunnel again, Gu Chang Laozu knew that he had made a mistake. When encircling and attacking the Laozu of the various sects, he had neglected the core forging disciples of the various sects under Laozu. Seeing that Lu Ping and the others were wreaking havoc in the Dao soldier formation of the 3 sects, Gu Chang Laozu chose to ignore them. It was not that he did not want to help, but that the cultivators of the 3 sects who formed the Dao soldier formation would not listen to his orders at all. At this time, in the midst of the chaos, the 3 sects all followed the instructions of the 3 Laozu of Changhe, Wuji, and Yushang, who were being held back by others. They had long become a plate of loose sand waiting to be trampled on. However, just as the cultivators of the various sects of the North Sea did not care about expanding the battle and instead rushed out to kill, Gu Chang Laozu had no choice but to open his mouth to remind them. At this time, he had already realized that these core forging disciples were the weakness of the 10 Laozu present. As long as these people were trapped, the 10 Laozu of Laozu would not easily abandon their disciples and escape. As long as they could hold on for a while, the various sects within thousands of miles of Ying Mountain who had received news of the appearance of the Yingtian dojo would definitely send their cultivators over. At that time, these people would really not be able to escape. Stop them. Our reinforcements will be here soon. There was no need for Gu Chang Laozu to say more. At this time, Changhe Laozu and the others had already realized that these core forging cultivators were the key. They all called out to their disciples to chase after them. However, after these 10 or so cultivators broke through the encirclement, they whistled and fled in different directions. This caused the cultivators of the 3 sects to be at a loss as to what to do. These people chased after the core forging cultivators of the North Sea. Apart from their own Laozu's orders, their biggest reliance was their numbers. If it was a one-on-one fight, after seeing the valiance of these late-stage core forging cultivators, the cultivators of the 3 sects would definitely not dare to split up and chase after them. The battle between Yuan Lai and Jiang Tianlin was still in full swing. Yuan Lai's fierce thunder technique was extraordinary, and Jiang Tianlin also wanted to see the methods of the #1 aristocratic family in Middle-earth. For a moment, the two of them were evenly matched. Yuan Lai shouted in delight. When he turned around, he saw the backs of more than 10 core forging cultivators fleeing in different directions. Yuan Lai's thoughts turned and he immediately understood. He shouted to Gu Chang Laozu, "These people are not from the same sect. They are from several sects. A feeling of humiliation instantly surged within Ancestor Gu Chang's heart. I've been schemed against again. Haha, Jiang Tianlin Laozu looked up to the sky and laughed. He said, today, I have seen the magic of the Yuan family. You really live up to your reputation. In the future, the mountains are high and the rivers are long. Forgive me for not accompanying you. After saying that, Jiang Tianlin shook his hands. Yuan Lai felt the surrounding scenery change. Countless tall and straight trees rose from the ground, forming a dense forest. Countless leaves fluttered in the forest towards Yuan Lai. Yuan Lai sneered and said, pretending to be mysterious. It's just a small trick. After he finished speaking, countless bolts of lightning shot out from his body, and it was as if he had become a ball of lightning. The leaves that were falling toward him were all turned into ashes, and the lightning extended outwards, destroying a large area of the forest. In just an instant, the illusion of the entire forest disappeared. When Yuan Lai looked up, he only saw Patriarch Jiang Tianlin's figure flash in the sky and disappear. Jiang Tianlin Laozu temporarily used his natal magic treasure to project a forest illusion to trap Yuan Lai. Then he turned around and fled. At this time, the core forging cultivators of the various sects had already escaped. The North Sea sect's Laozu, who were left behind, prepared to retreat. The 10 Laozus who had temporarily joined forces to allow the disciples of the various sects to escape, all went their own ways. At this time, Gu Chang Laozu's spirits rose, and he shouted, "There's no need for all of you to stay. As long as you can hold back 3 to 5 people, we will be able to reap great rewards this time." Gu Chang Laozu was not only speaking to the cultivators on his side, but he was also speaking to the North Sea Dharma adepts. He could tell that these cultivators were not from the same sect, so he naturally believed that there was no conflict between these sections. At this time, he wanted to see if there was any internal strife, and if someone took the opportunity to attack the Black Hand sect. Although this was an extremely lucky idea, unfortunately, Gu Chang Laozu had predicted it. Feng Shidao and Donghua Laozu retreated, and before they retreated, they each used a magical power to block Gu Chang Laozu's pursuit. However, these two magical powers, along with Copper Sword Laozu, attacked Gu Chang Laozu's path of retreat. After Gu Chang Laozu and Copper Sword Laozu had each resolved the attacks that were aimed at them, Copper Sword Laozu saw Gu Chang Laozu blocking Copper Sword Laozu's path of retreat with a cold smile on his face. Copper Sword Laozu's expression changed. How could he be a match for the person in front of him alone? Chapter 680. Gu Chang Laozu was about to make a move, but his expression suddenly changed. He turned around and slapped his palm behind him. There was a crisp sound, and Gu Chang Laozu's body shook in surprise. Behind Gu Chang Laozu, Jiang Tianlin Laozu took a few steps back. The two's palms seemed calm and ordinary, but one could tell that this move was extremely dangerous just by looking at the distorted space around it. When Gu Chang Laozu turned around, he saw a dense forest suddenly appearing in the air not far away. A lightning was raging in the forest, turning the trees into nothingness. Copper Sword Laozu was overjoyed when he saw Jiang Tianlin Laozu suddenly appear. He slashed with the copper sword in his hand, and a golden light flew towards Gu Chang Laozu. The golden light shrunk in the air, but the sword light became more and more dazzling. This was originally a sword move that Copper Sword Laozu had prepared to use against Gu Chang Laozu. At this time, with Jiang Tianlin Laozu's help, Copper Sword Laozu had a chance to escape. However, this sword technique could only be used, but could not be withdrawn. Copper Sword Laozu simply took advantage of the time when Gu Chang Laozu was unstable to use this sword technique on Gu Chang Laozu. Not mentioning Gu Chang Laozu, who was clumsily blocking Copper Sword Laozu's full blow, Jiang Tianlin Laozu suddenly appeared beside him and said, "Don't continue fighting, retreat quickly." Copper Sword Laozu was shocked and quickly retreated behind Jiang Tianlin Laozu. At this time, Sanming Laozu got rid of a Gu family Dharma adept and took the opportunity to attack Changhe Laozu, who was fighting Yan Zhao Laozu with a magical power. He wanted to help Yan Zhao Laozu get rid of the entanglement. However, at this time, Zhongli Laozu of the Sea Flame sect, who had just used a series of magical powers to repel Yushang Laozu, did not escape. Instead, he suddenly appeared behind Yan Zhao Laozu, and under Sanming Laozu's shocked cry, he suddenly attacked Yan Zhao Laozu with a pair of Dharma treasures. Everything happened so suddenly that Sanming Laozu could not stop it in time. He could only attack Zhongli Laozu with the Dharma treasures in his hands, trying to attack Zhongli. However, Sanming Laozu had just attacked Yushang Laozu, and in his haste, he could not use the qi in his body to threaten Zhongli Laozu. Zhongli Laozu seemed to have calculated that Sanming Laozu was exhausted, and was prepared to take Sanming Laozu's attack head-on. He would not let Yan Zhao Laozu go. Yushang Laozu was shocked when she took Sanming Laozu's attack. Then, she saw Yan Zhao Laozu, who was about to retreat, being forced back by her own people. She was overjoyed, and quickly cooperated with her opponent to attack Yan Zhao Laozu from the front and back. Yan Zhao Laozu saw that he was about to fall into a hopeless situation again. He screamed and was about to fight back, but he saw a green light coming from the sky, nailing Zhongli Laozu in the air. Then, Sanming Laozu, who had only used 30% of his strength, severely injured Zhongli Laozu and made him vomit blood. The Yingsu treasured mirror and the copper sword floated above Jiang Tianlin Laozu's head. Yushang Laozu looked at the Yingsu treasured mirror above Jiang Tianlin Laozu's head, pointed at him and shouted, "It's you. You're the one who obtained the Yingsu treasured mirror that night." Jiang Tianlin Laozu turned to look at Yushang Laozu. Yushang Laozu, who was about to step forward, paused. Only then did she remember that the three of them had been suppressed by this person in front of her. Wouldn't she be the one to die if she stepped forward now? Jiang Tianlin smiled coldly and joined up with Sanming Laozu, Yan Zhao Laozu, and together with the copper sword Laozu, the four of them fled. For a time, no one dared to stop them, nor did they have the time to do so. Because there was still one person who was alone, and he was currently surrounded by Yushang Laozu and the others. After Zhongli Laozu had been injured by Sanming Laozu, he had taken the opportunity to break free from the Yingsu treasured mirror. However, in that short moment, Jiang Tianlin and the others had already gone far away. Yushang Laozu did not dare to cause trouble for Jiang Tianlin and the others, so she came directly for him. Zhongli Laozu was shocked and turned to leave, but the sound of something slicing through the air came from behind him. Zhongli Laozu turned around and slashed, just in time to see the Dharma adept of the Gu clan that he had just shaken off catch up to him. Together with Yushang Laozu, they launched a pincer attack on him. Zhongli Laozu turned pale with fright. He had originally planned to ambush Yan Zhao Laozu and then divert the attention of the ambushers so that he could escape successfully. At the same time, he could also take revenge on Yan Zhao Laozu, who had fought with him for the Dharma Power Soul in the training hall. However, he had gone for wool and come home shorn. Jiang Tianlin's light of imprisonment had made him the one who had brought up the rear. Zhongli had originally been injured by Sanming Laozu's attack, but after taking a blow from Yushang Laozu and the Gu clan Dharma adept head-on, Zhongli Laozu spat out a mouthful of blood 3 feet away, but he had still managed to buy himself a chance of survival. Taking advantage of the fact that the two Laozus were stunned by his reckless attack, Zhongli Laozu used the blood escape technique, which consumed a large amount of his vital energy. His body turned into a bright red light as he tried to escape. However, just as the light started to move, a cold light shot towards him, and the red light was instantly cut off. Zhongli Laozu fell from the light with a look of despair on his face. He looked at Guchang Laozu, who was standing in front of him, blocking his way. Mid-Dharma stage, he was finished. After Donghua Laozu got rid of Guchang Laozu, the first person he went to look for was Zhang Shi. At this time, Zhang Shi's condition was really not good. He had hurriedly advanced to the Dharma stage, and although it would not be a big problem if he relied on his previous strong foundation, his stage was still not stable yet, and he had not practiced the remarkable Dharma techniques of the Dharma stage. After fighting with the other Gu clan adept for a few rounds, Zhang Shi suddenly realized that his Dharma stage was starting to wobble. In order to prevent his stage from dropping, Zhang Shi became even more cautious when fighting with his opponent. Fortunately, Donghua Laozu arrived just in time. Although Zhang Shi was beaten into a sorry state by the Gu clan adept, and blood had even started to flow from the corner of his mouth, he still managed to endure the humiliation and protect his Dharma stage cultivation. After the two of them forced the Gu clan adept to retreat, they went to meet up with Linggu sect's Lingyun Laozu, who was fighting with Wu Ji Laozu. However, they saw that Lingyun Laozu looked like he had lost his parents. When Ancestor 5 Luck saw the two of them pressing over, he retreated of his own accord. Ancestor Donghua was greatly shocked in his heart, and when he saw Ancestor Lingyun didn't have the slightest injury, he couldn't help but ask. "Daoist brother Lingyun, what happened to you?" Lingyun Laozu did not say a word and wanted to flee. Donghua Laozu looked at each other and hurriedly followed. However, when the three of them were about to fly out of the ambush set up by the three sects cultivators, they saw Lingyun Laozu wave his hand downwards and a corpse was collected by Lingyun Laozu. Donghua Laozu were shocked when they saw the corpse. This person was the only late-stage core forging cultivator of Linggu sect, the array master invited by the Blue Sea sect. Previously, when the late-stage core forging cultivators of the various sects of North Sea rushed out to fight, this array master's strength and status was high, and there was no one protecting him. In the end, he did not manage to break out of the encirclement and was instead killed in the middle of the Dao soldier formation set up by the three sects cultivators. Because at that time, the North Sea cultivators were busy running for their lives, and the Dharma cultivators of the various sects did their best to hold back the array master, no one realized that this person had already been killed. Perhaps because Lingyun Laozu had some kind of secret artifact from his own sect, he already knew the moment this array master died, but he was already powerless to do anything at that time. At this time, the storage artifacts and the like on this array master's body had already been taken by someone, and the space in his heart core had also been shattered. Clearly, someone had already looted his corpse. Donghua Laozu thought for a long time, and then said, "Brother Lingyun, please restrain your grief. Our sect is also responsible for the death of apprentice nephew Shou Gu. If it wasn't for our sect's repeated requests, Brother Lingyun would not have brought apprentice nephew Shou Gu here." Lingyun Laozu did not say a word, and only flew away. Donghua Laozu and Zhang Shi could see the worry in each other's eyes. If Linggu's sect blamed the death of their array master Shou Gu on the Azure Sea sect, then the alliance between the two sects would very likely break. After all, a array master was really too important to Linggu's sect. Even for a large sect like Jinling, Sage Xianchen had only just become a array master. It could be said that with the death of array master Shou Gu, to Linggu's sect, the harvest from Yingtian Dojo had already become meaningless. In the blink of an eye, the three of them had flown tens of miles away, temporarily escaping from the danger behind them. However, from afar, they could hear Zhangli Laozu's mournful cry before his death. There were also some indistinct words, as if he was cursing something. The three of them stopped flying, knowing that Zhangli Laozu of the Sea Flame sect, who had been surrounded, had most likely died. The death of a Dharma adept was something that had not appeared in the North Sea cultivation world for many years. This time, Zhangli Laozu's death would definitely cause great waves in the North Sea cultivation world. However, at this time, Donghua Laozu and the others were not in the mood to think about what kind of benefits the Azure Sea sect could obtain from this. The three of them all had a faint feeling of sympathy for the death of a rabbit. Dharma adepts were people who stood at the peak of the cultivation world. A living example was right in front of them. They could also die. At this time, Lingyun Laozu let out a long sigh and said, "Fellow Daoist Donghua, our sect has suffered such a loss. In the future, we will still need your sect's help." Donghua Laozu looked at Zhang Shi and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Only now did he remember that Linggu's sect had already turned their back on Xianling's sect. If they were to get into a fight with the Azure Sea sect again because of perfected Shou Gu's death, then which other sect in the North Sea cultivation world would dare to get close to Linggu's sect? Dongwu Laozu had only thought that Linggu's sect might vent their anger on the Azure Sea sect because of perfected Shogu's death, but he had forgotten that Linggu's sect was actually more afraid of being isolated than the Azure Sea sect. Perfected Shogu's death had actually strengthened the alliance between the Azure Sea sect and Linggu's sect. Dongwu Laozu hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Lingyun, please rest assured. Our sects are already allies, and there is no reason for us to stand by and do nothing." Lingyun Laozu nodded and sighed. He did not say anything else. For a time, the atmosphere between the three of them became heavy. Zhang Shi pondered for a moment and asked, "Uncle Master Lingyun, are you returning to the North Sea alone this time, or are you coming with us?" Before Zhang Shi could finish his words, Dongwu Laozu's brows suddenly furrowed. He abruptly turned around and saw several rays of light chasing after the three of them. Although Zhang Shi was puzzled as to why these cultivators from the Central Plains were still chasing after them, a strange light still flashed across his eyes. When he looked again, he saw several cultivators in the light, such as Changhe Laozu, Wuji Laozu, and the cultivator from the Gu clan were chasing after the three of them with solemn expressions on their faces. At this time, Lingyun Laozu and Zhang Shi also looked behind them. Zhang Shi suddenly said, "Uncle Master, these people don't look like they're chasing us. Instead, they look like they're being chased." Chapter 681. After Lu Ping broke out of the encirclement, he flew in the direction of Ing River. After a while, he realized that there was no one behind him. Lu Ping dove into Ing River and flowed with the current. In less than an hour, he returned to the rocky cave abode. Inside the cave abode, Du Jialua was practicing a fist technique. This was a set of fist techniques that Lu Ping had found in the Inheritance Jade Scroll of the Ying Tian sect. This set of fist techniques was meant for mortals who had yet to start refining their blood. There was only one purpose: to strengthen the mortal's physical body to the greatest extent before they started refining their body. When Lu Ping saw this set of fist techniques, he was rather surprised. He sighed to himself that the inheritance of the Ying Tian sect was indeed very complete. They even had fist techniques that could help mortals build their foundation. Although this set of fist techniques seemed to have a very limited effect on physical strength for cultivators, it was already very impressive for a mortal. At Lu Ping's level of cultivation, he naturally knew what a strong physical body meant to a cultivator who had advanced to the Dharma phase. Du Jialua had mistakenly eaten a spirit fruit that strengthened his physical body. His physical body was already strong, and now that he was practicing this fist technique, it was even more beneficial. Not only would his physical body continue to strengthen under the conditioning of the fist technique, but part of the medicinal power that was originally hidden in Du Jialua's blood would also be stimulated and absorbed by his physical body. Unfortunately, Jinling did not have this fist technique. At Lu Ping's current level of cultivation, this fist technique was no longer of any use to him. Seeing that Lu Ping had returned, Du Jialua hurriedly came up to greet him. Lu Ping saw that his entire body was drenched in sweat. In his divine will, he could sense that Du Jialua's entire body was surging like a wild horse. The impurities in his physical body were seeping out of his pores along with his sweat. Because the amount that seeped out was very small, it was not obvious. However, to Lu Ping, this was already very rare. Although there were spirit medicines in the world of cultivation that could instantly rejuvenate one's body, to Lu Ping, these spirit medicines were simply pulling at seedlings to help them grow. They would deplete a cultivator's potential prematurely. They might improve quickly in the early stages, but in the later stages, there would be no more room for improvement. Everything was a step-by-step process. Relying too much on external forces would eventually lead to a disadvantage. Lu Ping nodded his head in satisfaction, but he didn't say any words of praise. He only said, "Continue to practice diligently. Before activating your bloodline, don't slack off." Du Jialua replied respectfully, and Lu Ping turned around and walked to the back. Du Jielua once again took up his stance, exhaled, and began to practice punch after punch. From the corner of his eye, Lu Ping saw Madame Du holding her fox daughter as she stood in front of a stone room and looked at Lu Ping. When Lu Ping saw the little fox in Madame Du's arms, something flashed across his mind. He stopped in his tracks and turned around. "Is there something you need?" Madame Du walked forward and knelt down with the little fox in her arms. "Immortal, please accept my daughter as your disciple. Although my daughter is in the form of a fox now, she will definitely transform into a human when she reaches the blood condensation realm. She is a mixed blood between humans and demons, but it's impossible for me to return to the demon race now. Your elder brother is also a disciple of your sect, so he will definitely become a human in the future. With her identity, if she doesn't have the protection of your sect, there will be no place for her in either the human or demon race in the future." Lu Ping looked at the little fox in Madame Du's arms, who was staring at him with her big eyes. For some reason, he thought of his good friend, Yin Xianchu. He couldn't help but sigh and murmur to himself, even if she joins our sect, she might not be able to protect her mixed blood identity. Although Lu Ping was muttering to himself, Madame Du was a late-stage core-forging demonic cultivator after all. She naturally knew what would happen to her daughter if her mixed blood identity was exposed. If she still had her cultivation, she might be able to protect her daughter. But now, she had lost more than half of her cultivation. Even if Lu Ping treated her, possession was too much of a drain on a cultivator's innate talent. At most, she would be able to transform again and live for a few hundred years. It was impossible for her to return to her previous late-stage core-forging demonic cultivation, let alone advance further. The scene of her daughter being hunted down in the future flashed through Madame Du's mind. She couldn't help but feel sad, and tears fell from her eyes. The little fox wriggled in her mother's arms. It raised its head and stuck out its tongue to lick the tears left by its mother. A dong sound came from behind Lu Ping. Lu Ping frowned and turned around to see Du Jielua kneeling on the ground. It turned out that Du Jielua had clearly heard the conversation between his mother and Lu Ping. When he saw Lu Ping turn around, Du Jielua kowtowed to the ground and said, "Immortal Elder, please accept little sister into our sect. Little sister doesn't need to activate her bloodline to cultivate. She's much stronger than this disciple." Lu Ping snorted coldly and said, "Have you finished practicing your fist technique?" Du Jielua shrank back and said bitterly, "No, not yet." However, as he finished speaking, his voice became softer and softer. Lu Ping said coldly, "Since she is your sister, she should naturally be protected by you. If you keep begging others, why should others help you?" Du Jielua had a look of fear on his face as he retorted, "If you bully my sister, this disciple will naturally give up his life to protect her. It's just that you're not strong enough right now. Not only can you not protect your sister, you can't even protect yourself, right?" "Yes, that's right," Du Jielua said somewhat dejectedly. He was, after all, a 12-year-old child, and Lu Ping's harsh words made Du Jielua lose his confidence the most. "Humph," Lu Ping said with a cold expression, "if that's the case, then why did you stop? If you're not strong enough, you can still cultivate. But if you think that you won't be able to protect your family in the future, then why bother dreaming of becoming a cultivator? Isn't it better to stay at home and be a fisherman?" At this time, Du Shi also opened his mouth and said, "Luo, it's not easy for you to enter the sect that the Immortal Elder is in. You must not waste the chance to activate your bloodline again." Du Jielua looked at the fox sister in his stepmother's arms, then looked at Du Shi, gritted his teeth and said, "Yes." Then, he got up from the ground and began to practice his fist technique again. One move after another, he used even more force between moves. It was obvious that Lu Ping's words had greatly stimulated him. Lu Ping glanced at Du Shi, thought for a moment and said, "Since this child has already entered our sect will naturally not ignore his family and disciples. Although you are a demon, you have already taken over the body of a human, and you have some magic power in your hands. After we return, I will send you to a place where there is a good friend of mine, and you can work under him. I'm afraid that our sect will not accept any more mixed-blood humans as disciples, but that good friend of mine may not be the case. If your daughter is fated, she will naturally be protected by him. Du Sure was, after all, an old demon who had taken over the body of a human for more than 10 years. She naturally understood the hidden meaning in Lu Ping's words, so she hurriedly kowtowed to Lu Ping. The fox in her arms seemed to know that the person in front of it had given it a great favor, so it hurriedly imitated its mother and extended its forelimbs in front of its head, kowtowing. Lu Ping heard Du Jialuo's shouts as he practiced his punches. Lu Ping could tell that Du Jialuo's punches were stronger than before, and his shouts were filled with excitement. He couldn't help but smile. Then, he snorted coldly and walked back to his stone room. After everyone left the cave, only the previously injured Daoist Xian Ju stayed behind. Seeing that Lu Ping had returned, Daoist Xian Ju was already waiting at the stone room's entrance to greet him. He had seen everything that had happened to Lu Ping. Lu Ping saw that Daoist Xian Ju's face had already recovered and smiled. Looks like Uncle has recovered well. Elder Fornax's Bell Cauldron Elixir is indeed the best healing elixir in the North Sea. Daoist Xian Ju smiled and glanced at Du Jialua, who was practicing his fist technique. He said in a low voice, "Why, has our sect's water sword deity finally decided to accept a disciple?" Lu Ping sighed and said, "If this disciple can successfully awaken his bloodline, he must be very talented. Even if he is not very intelligent, as long as he works hard, he will definitely become a Dharma adept in the future. Who wouldn't want a disciple like this?" Daoist Xian Ju nodded and smiled. "It's not just you. Even I have the thought of accepting a disciple. I'm afraid Brother Xian Sun, Brother Xian Su, and the others have the same thought. It's just that you were the one who recommended him to the sect. Firstly, it's not good for us to fight with you. Secondly, your abilities have long surpassed ours, and you don't have any disciples under your tutelage. This disciple is so talented, and we are afraid of wasting his future in our hands. We might as well hand him over to you, the number one disciple of the third generation. Let's see how far you can push him." "Uncle, you must be joking. You think too highly of me. In the end, everything still depends on the disciple himself." Lu Ping paused, then continued, "It's just that our sect has a rule that a disciple can only become an unofficial disciple or a true disciple after reaching the mid-blood condensation stage. If he has the ability and opportunity, I will naturally be happy to help him. But if my own sect doesn't live up to expectations, who can I blame?" Daoist Xian Ju smiled. "No matter what, if word of this gets out, it will definitely cause a stir in our sect. The water sword deity, who is known as the most knowledgeable Zhenling, actually wants to accept a disciple. If word gets out, won't this child be the envy of others?" Lu Ping smiled bitterly. "I'm afraid that before he can be envied to death, he will be killed first. Uncle, please don't say such things. I still want to leave a good seed for our sect." Daoist Xian Ju was amused. See, there are still at least a dozen years before he can become your disciple. It's hard to say whether he will be willing or not, but you're thinking too much on his behalf." Lu Ping might look calm, but deep down, he was very proud. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been called the most knowledgeable by the fourth-generation disciples. This time, because he saw Du Jialua's excellent aptitude, he wanted to accept him as his disciple. Instead, Daoist Xian Ju rebuked him. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Daoist Xian Ju looked at Lu Ping's embarrassment and found it even more hilarious. However, she didn't want to tease Lu Ping anymore, so she smiled and said, all right, I'm a core disciple of our sect. Of course, I know what's important. Don't worry, if this child really activates his bloodline cultivation, no one will look at him differently. It's just that you entered the Yingtian dojo smoothly, how come you're the only one who came back now?" What Lu Ping didn't notice was that throughout the conversation, Daoist Xianju was speaking to him as if they were peers of the same generation. Perhaps even Daoist Xianju herself didn't notice it, but unknowingly, Lu Ping's position in Daoist Xianju's heart had become the same as hers. He was no longer just a third-generation disciple, a junior. In fact, it wasn't just Daoist Xianju herself. Daoist Xiansen, Daoist Xiansu, Daoist Xianchen, and the other second-generation disciples, after witnessing Lu Ping's various achievements and strength, had imperceptibly put Lu Ping on the same level as themselves. And the root of all this was Lu Ping's growing strength and gradually increasing influence in the sect. Lu Ping roughly recounted his encounter in the Yingtian dojo to Daoist Xianju and said, "Disciple is fast and took the shortest route, so I came back the earliest." But looking at the time, the three martial uncles and martial uncle Jiang should be back by now. As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, the restriction at the entrance of the rocky cave shook. When Lu Ping and Daoist Xianju raised their heads to look, their faces changed. Daoist Xiansen was covered in blood. He grabbed Daoist Xiansu, who was on the verge of death, with one hand and supported the unconscious Daoist Xianchen with the other. After seeing Lu Ping and Daoist Xianju, his body fell down. Daoist Xianju was about to go forward, but Lu Ping had already appeared in front of Daoist Xiansen with a flash of light. He supported Daoist Xiansen, who was about to fall, and stuffed a precious origin tracing pill into Daoist Xiansen's mouth without any explanation. The origin tracing pill melted in Daoist Xiansen's mouth. The powerful medicinal power caused Daoist Xiansen's dispirited expression to shake. He anxiously said, "Azura, it's an Azura, there's also a devil cultivator. They've surrounded us. Senior brother, danger." After saying that, Daoist Xiansen, who had forcefully gathered a mouthful of true yuan to bring the heavily injured Daoist Xiansu and Daoist Xianchen back, could no longer hold on and completely fainted. Luckily, Lu Ping stuffed the origin tracing pill into his mouth at the first moment, preventing his injuries from worsening. At this moment, Daoist Xianju also came to the side and helped Lu Ping to lift Daoist Xianchen up. He said, "How is it? What should we do?" For a moment, Daoist Xianju did not care about it and placed all his hopes on Lu Ping. He forgot that he was Lu Ping's martial uncle and should stand up at this moment. Lu Ping glanced at the anxious Daoist Xianju. His divine sense had already finished inspecting Daoist Xiansu and Daoist Xianchen's injuries. He said, "Martial uncle Xiansu has fainted due to the exhaustion of true yuan. Although his injuries are serious, it does not harm his foundation. He will recover after a few years of rest. Martial uncle Xianchen's divine sense has been damaged. Azura thirsts for blood, devil cultivators devour souls. It seems like he has really encountered a devil cultivator." Daoist Xianju panicked when he heard that. Divine sense has been damaged? Junior sister Xianchen is a formation grandmaster. Damaging her divine sense is no less than crippling her cultivation. What should we do? Lu Ping was speechless as he looked at Daoist Xianju, who had lost his composure. He said, Martial uncle Xianchen's injuries are difficult to treat in an emergency. However, it is not impossible. The most important thing now is not martial uncle Xianchen. I'm afraid martial uncle Jiang is still surrounded by the Azura. Chapter 682. Daoist Xianju quickly said, "That's right." However, from what junior brother Xiansen said, senior brother Jiang seems to have fallen into a trap. The Azura and the devil cultivator, the number of Azura and the devil cultivator is definitely not small. How can we save senior brother Jiang? Lu Ping saw that Xianju Jinren had finally calmed down from his earlier panic and regained some of his rationality. But before Lu Ping could speak, Xianju Jinren's next sentence made him not know whether to laugh or cry. "Oh yes, there's a teleporter here that leads directly to the North Sea. Disciple Lu, quickly activate it and inform our sect's cultivators to come and rescue him." Lu Ping said helplessly, "Don't panic, Uncle Master." With Uncle Master Zhang's skills, unless he's facing a great Dharma adept or surrounded by several cultivators of the same level, even a mid-Dharma adept may not be able to stop him. Hearing Lu Ping's words, Xian Zhu Zhenren's agitated emotions finally calmed down. This Uncle Master made Lu Ping secretly sigh. Her status as one of the 4 female cultivators of the sect could not be compared to that of Master and Tianqin, and even Xian Zhenren. Perhaps it was because she was too sheltered by a powerful master like Tian Shuelaozu. Lu Ping continued to explain, "Now that the teleporter has been activated, there's not enough time. Furthermore, outside the teleporter is the North Sea Demon Clan's camp outside Huanyu Island. 1 or 2 people might be able to escape detection, but once our sect mobilizes a large force, it will definitely alert the North Sea Demon Clan. At that time, not only will the teleporter be in danger, but the reinforcements from our sect will probably have to fight the demon cultivators first." Xian Zhu Zhenren let out a long breath and said, "Disciple Lu, you're right. It's me who lost my composure. No wonder Master always says that I'm weak and urges me to go out and train. I'll leave this matter to you, disciple nephew. I'll do my best to cooperate." This was not the time to be humble. Lu Ping nodded and said, "Uncle Master, please take care of the other 3 Uncle Masters. I'll go out and scout first. Perhaps Uncle Master Jiang has already fought his way out." Lu Ping walked along the bottom of the river for nearly 10 miles. His divine telekinesis had already captured the traces of the water Shura that he had seen before. Lu Ping put on the cloud-colored robe and turned into a stream of water, approaching the 7 or 8 water Shuras that were hovering in the water. These 7 or 8 water Azuras were led by a water Azura that was equivalent to a core forging stage water Azura. They seemed to be a water Azura team that was out patrolling. Lu Ping used his mind to summon a stream of undercurrents to surround the 8 water Azuras. By the time the core forging stage water Azura realized what was going on, the undercurrents had already wrapped around them. The water Shura in the core forging stage shrunk and elongated its body, and it managed to escape from Lu Ping's water manipulation spell. However, before it could escape, its eyes were suddenly filled with horror. Then, the Shura's head flew into the air, and a stream of clear blood gushed out from its neck. Lu Ping reached out his hand, and a weapon that was held by the water Shura fell off and flew towards Lu Ping's hand. The other 7 water Azuras in the blood condensation stage all had crazed expressions on their faces. They struggled with all their might, but they could not break the water surrounding them. However, blood gushed out of their chests like flowing water, and they died after struggling for a while. Lu Ping reached out his hand, and the nether water sword suddenly appeared in Lu Ping's hand. Lu Ping stepped forward and collected the weapons in the hands of the 7 water Azuras. These weapons were second-class mutated spiritual materials that had been roughly refined and polished into weapons. When used against enemies, they only relied on the hardness of the second-class spiritual materials. However, the weapon in the hands of the core forging stage water Azura was a genuine magic treasure. Lu Ping had read about Azuras in ancient books, and knew that Azuras had an innate ability to nurture magic treasures. When a Azura was born, it would choose a spiritual material as its companion weapon. As the Azura grew, the quality of the companion weapon would also increase. When the Azura became a Grand Azura in the blood condensation stage, the companion weapon would become at least a second-class mutated spiritual material. When the Azura became an Azura equivalent to the core forging stage, the companion weapon would also grow into a magic treasure. Once the Shura grew into a blood Shura that could shock the entire cultivation world, each of these Dharma stage experts would have a weapon that was equivalent to a spirit treasure. Often, when fighting against Dharma stage experts from the human clan or the demon clan, the blood Shura would use his companion weapon that was equivalent to a spirit treasure to beat the human clan or the demon clan of the same level until they could not lift their heads. Lu Ping put away these spiritual materials and magic treasures. These were a great harvest for any Zhenling core forging stage cultivator. However, in Lu Ping's eyes, after the trip to Yingtian Dojo, these things were no longer enough to make Lu Ping feel the joy of harvest. The corpse of the water Azura killed by Lu Ping slowly dissolved in the Ying River. Other water Azuras, such as the wood Azuras, the earth Azuras, and the ice Azuras, would also turn into dead wood, rocks, and ice after death. Therefore, there was a saying in the cultivation world that Azuras were actually life forms formed from the essence of the five elements, wind, and ice. Although this legend had not been proven, many people in the cultivation world believed it. During the discussion at the dojo, Jiang Tianlin and Laozu's escape route was more or less the same as Lu Ping's. They both followed the direction of the Ying River. Lu Ping searched upstream along the Ying River. After a while, there were more water Azuras in the Ying River. Most of these Azuras were at the blood condensation stage, which was equivalent to a grand Azura. Occasionally, there were some core forging Azuras leading them. These Azuras were not much of a threat to Lu Ping, but there were too many of them. Lu Ping could not kill all of them in a short time. Once he attacked, he would definitely alert the powerhouses in the Azura clan. Once he was noticed by the Blood Azura, Lu Ping would not be able to withstand an attack from the Blood Azura's accompanying spiritual treasure. Lu Ping thought for a while, and suddenly a set of stone armor appeared on his body. Then, he covered his body with the five elements cloud raiment and slowly passed through the water Azuras from the bottom of the Ying River. With Lu Ping's current mastery of the water magic power, coupled with the help of the five elements cloud raiment and the stone armor, it would be difficult for anyone below the Dharma realm to see through Lu Ping's movements unless they had mastered a very special magic power. Lu Ping traveled a few more miles in the Ying River. There were almost no ordinary Azuras in the river. Along the way, he saw a few strong Azuras in the middle and late stages of the core forging realm. Lu Ping's heart sank. He knew that he was getting closer to the inner part of the Azura camp. At this moment, Lu Ping faintly felt a roar coming from above his head. Even though Lu Ping was deep in the Ying River, he could feel the great power contained in the faint roar. This was definitely a scene that could only appear when Dharma realm cultivators were fighting. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. Jiang Tianlin Laozu might be trapped here by the Azuras. However, to trap Jiang Tianlin Laozu, at least the Blood Azura would have to make a move. At this moment, Lu Ping was very hesitant. After all, he was only a late core forging realm cultivator. Even though he was strong, he was not arrogant enough to think that he had the ability to affect the battle between Dharma realm adepts. Jiang Tianlin Laozu, San Ming, Tong Jian, and Yan Ling had just broken through the encirclement and escaped for a few dozen miles. The four Laozu were about to say goodbye to each other and meet up with their own disciples, preparing to return to the North Sea. At this moment, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's divine will suddenly cut through the air like a wave. Under the shocked gazes of the other three, an obvious ripple appeared in the air and spread out in all directions. Immediately, the three ancestors seemed to have realized something, and they all became vigilant. Tong Jian Laozu frowned and was about to ask something, but he heard Jiang Tianlin Laozu gasp and say, "Not good, run." Although the three Laozu did not understand why Jiang Tianlin Laozu said this, the three of them had already seen Jiang Tianlin Laozu's strength. Since he had said to run, there was naturally a great danger coming. The three of them looked at Jiang Tianlin Laozu's anxious tone and felt a chill in their hearts. Unfortunately, it was too late. Just as the four of them were about to escape, there was a strange fluctuation in the space in front of the four of them. A small brilliance suddenly appeared, and the surrounding clouds condensed. When the brilliance stabbed in front of Tong Jian Laozu, it had already turned into a 3-foot-long water sword. Tong Jian Laozu let out a strange cry and said, "Water Azura." The copper sword in his hand drew a yellow light and slashed at the water sword that was close at hand. However, when Tong Jian Laozu's magic weapon slashed on the water sword, it passed through the water sword and only splashed a few water droplets. The water sword was still undamaged and stabbed at Tong Jian Laozu. Tong Jian Laozu's eyes widened and he shouted. He had to use his protective magical power to resist the water sword, but the water vapor in front of him suddenly condensed into a water mirror. The water sword pierced through the water mirror, but it appeared behind Tong Jian Laozu, allowing Tong Jian Laozu to escape. It's Blood Azura, a Dharma stage Blood Azura. Tong Jian Laozu did not have time to thank Smoke Scorpion Laozu, who was next to him, and he hurriedly shouted. The water sword flew forward for a distance, and a pale, almost transparent palm suddenly appeared in midair and grasped the water sword. At this moment, on the other side, Sanming Laozu suddenly shouted, and 3 lights suddenly appeared above his head. The lights hovered above Sanming Laozu's head, forming a simple 3-man formation. A cold wind suddenly blew, and Sanming Laozu shivered for no reason. He was even more frightened. The 3 lights above his head swayed. If Sanming Laozu had not tried his best to maintain it, it would have been blown out by the cold wind just now. Sanming Ancestor felt a chill run down his spine. His voice trembled as he said, Feng Azura, Dharma form. A gust of cold wind swirled around a strand of qi, and a cyan silhouette flashed and disappeared. The ancestors of the 3 bright sects saw a mocking smile on the face of the cyan silhouette. Sanming, Tong Jian, and Smoke Scorpion quickly stood together, back to back, and looked at the blood azura that surrounded them. Jiang Tianlin still stood on the other side, as if he was a stranger to the 3, but his eyes were fixed on the undulating black fog in the north of the mountain in the distance. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.